Chapter 381. Tan Xiu's thought swept through his dantian. The stars inside had disappeared and were replaced by a black hole whirlpool that exuded a terrifying aura. Even Tan Xiu was aware of what was behind the black hole whirlpool. The feeling of power. Tan Xiu clenched his fists. He had a feeling that he could smash a house with just one punch. Moreover, as the star force surged according to the circulation route of the heavenly art of cosmic genesis, a steady stream of star force gushed out from the black hole in his dantian. It was as if the black hole whirlpool was connected to the star force emitted by countless stars in the vast universe. Benefactor Tang. Dao Master Zi and Miao Wentong rushed in from outside the door. When they saw Tan Xiu sitting cross-legged on the sofa, Dao Master Zi couldn't help but call out. Miao Wentong also hurriedly asked, "Eldest brother Tang, are you all right? What happened before? That aura was too terrifying." Tan Xiu faintly smiled. His eyes looked at the two people and found that Ji Qimei's expression was unchanged. She was holding something and had arrived behind the two people. "I'm fine. It's just that because my cultivation technique is special, I have a special connection with the demon god spirit devourer cauldron, so it has been refined by me. Dao Master Zi, if my men can't cure your disciple in the end, I'm afraid I won't be able to return the demon god spirit devourer cauldron to you. At most, I'll compensate you in other ways." Tan Xiu said with a helpless expression on his face. Dao Master Zi frowned as he looked at Tan Xiu's expression. Seeing that Tan Xiu didn't seem to be joking, he slowly asked, "Benefactor Tang, I've used that cauldron for decades and used it to refine a lot of pills. But I've never used it before. I want to know, what kind of existence is this demon god spirit devourer cauldron you speak of?" Tan Xiu chose to conceal it. Although his current cultivation had a breakthrough, he was still not Dao Master Zi's opponent. In case the other party knew that the demon god spirit devourer cauldron was a divine tool, he would disregard face and try to snatch it. If that happened, he would only have a dead end. But on second thought, he suppressed this idea because Ji Qimei was here. If Dao Master Zi dared to make a move against him, perhaps he would be killed by Ji Qimei with just a flip of her hand. I'd better choose to hide it, so that he won't have a knot in his heart. After Tan Xiu's thoughts raced, he slowly said, "That cauldron is called the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. It used to be a spiritual tool, but unfortunately, the artifact spirit in the demon god spirit devourer cauldron has long been extinguished. Now, it can only be regarded as a cauldron more suitable for alchemy or refining. The scene you saw before was a mark left behind by the artifact spirit before it disappeared. I used my power to activate it. Speaking of which, it has brought me quite a lot of benefits. At the very least, it has allowed my cultivation to improve once again." Hearing this, Dao Master Zi secretly felt somewhat bitter in his heart. However, he was even more aware of the difference between his disciple and the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. "Benefactor Tang, since the demon god spirit devourer cauldron has chosen you, it's your destiny. I hope that you can do your best to save my disciple. As I said, as long as you can cure him, this demon god spirit devourer cauldron is yours." Tan Xiu slowly nodded. He then looked at Ji Qimei and asked, "Are the things I want ready?" Ji Qimei said, "Everything is ready. You can start at any time." Tan Xiu stood up and took everything from her hands. Then, he said, "All of you wait for me downstairs. I'll go upstairs to make the talisman. After I'm done, I can start to save your disciple." "All right." Dao Master Zi replied. 3 hours later, Tan Xiu finally succeeded in making the crepe myrtle warming talisman. When he came downstairs, he handed the crepe myrtle warming talisman to Ji Qimei and seriously said, "Next, it's up to you. Don't let me down." "Don't worry." Ji Qimei nodded and took the crepe myrtle warming talisman to the room. Dao Master Zi was surprised and asked, "Benefactor Tang, you're not going with me?" Tan Xiu shook his head and said, "With her taking action, it's the same whether I go or not." The one who will expel the goo poison is her, not me. Dao Master Z curiously said, Benefactor Tang, can I ask you something? Who is? She's my subordinate. Tan Xiu said. Dao Master Z's expression changed as a bit of dread was revealed in his eyes. The first time he saw Ji Qimei, he felt that she was a deep threat to him. But what puzzled him the most was that Ji Qimei seemed to be an ordinary old lady without the least bit of cultivation. Miao Wentong said, Brother Tang, your subordinate is really amazing. If my guess is correct, her cultivation is much higher than mine and Dao Master Z's. I'm afraid she has already reached a level that we can only look up to. Am I right? Tan Xiu said with a smile, she's indeed very powerful. She can easily break through the 1,000 revolution array with her own strength. What? Miao Wentong involuntarily exclaimed. Even Dao Master Z's complexion greatly changed. Both of them were very clear about the power of the 1,000 revolution array. The reason why Tan Xiu was able to break through so many layers was because he was proficient in arrays. But the old lady Tan Xiu said could easily break through the entire 1,000 revolution array by relying on her own strength. So to speak. That old lady's strength was at least dozens of times stronger than them, maybe even hundreds of times stronger. Tan Xiu faintly smiled as he turned around and sat on the sofa. He didn't chat with Dao Master Z and Miao Wentong. Instead, he sat cross-legged on the sofa and silently sensed the situation of the demon god spirit devourer cauldron inside his body. At the same time, he also circulated the star force in his meridians to stabilize his own realm. Although he had reached the peak of the bone transformation stage, and his bone density had increased by dozens of times, his toughness had also increased by dozens of times. But he had suddenly reached this stage, so his foundation was somewhat unstable and his realm was unstable. 10 minutes later. Ji Qimei calmly walked out of the room. Behind her, Dao Master Z's disciple's complexion was faintly rosy. Jing Yi, how is it? Dao Master Z came in front of his disciple and hurriedly asked. The youth called Jing Yi faintly smiled as he cupped his hands and said, Thank you, Master, for sparing no effort for this disciple. You didn't even hesitate to take out a precious treasure to ask someone to help me expel the goo poison. The goo poison in my body has been expelled. Dao Master Z's eyes lit up as he said with an excited expression, Good, good, good. It's good that it's been expelled. You must not easily provoke others in the future. There are countless eccentric people in this world. If you encounter a similar situation one day, I don't know how to save you. Jing Yi respectfully said, This disciple will solemnly follow Master's teachings. I won't dare to do it again in the future. Dao Master Z nodded with satisfaction. He suddenly had a feeling that experiencing this matter was perhaps the best tempering for this disciple of his, even though the price he paid was a bit big. There's a saying in the secular world, spending money to buy a lesson. He sighed inwardly and immediately turned to look at Tan Xiu. Tan Xiu opened his eyes as a smile hung on his face and said, Dao Master Z, since the goo poison in your disciple's body has been expelled, it means that the demon god spirit devourer cauldron is mine. Dao Master Z nodded and said, It's yours. Tan Xiu laughed as he looked at Ji Qimei and said, You've done a good job. Have a good rest and then go back to Jingmen Island. Ji Qimei respectfully said, Then this subordinate will take her leave first. If you have any instructions later, just call me. After saying that, she didn't even look at Dao Master Z and Miao Wentong as she turned around and left the villa. As the saying goes, people are in high spirits when encountering happy events. At this time, Tan Xiu's mood was particularly good. He greeted Dao Master Z and his disciple, as well as Miao Wentong to sit down. Then, he said with a smile, The two of you, it's almost early in the morning. If you're tired, you can rest here. I rarely come here. If you want to stay in Shanghai for some time, you can also stay here. Dao Master Z shook his head and said, This poor Taoist came in a hurry. There are still a lot of things to do in the Taoist temple. As soon as the sky turns bright, I'll leave with my disciple. Miao Wentong said with a smile, Brother Tang, I won't stay here anymore. I've done what you asked me to do. If you want to thank me, just sell me more God's nectar in the future. I don't know if you know that the God's nectar is very popular now. Major media outlets, so many judges from the Wine Industry Association, as well as many people who love wine, all of them can't wait to buy the God's nectar immediately. Tan Xiu smiled and said, I personally concocted the God's nectar. If the taste is not good, then I really won't have the face to see anyone. If Brother Miao likes it, then I'll sell it to you at the previous price later. Miao Wentong grinned and said, You sold it to me at the previous price, but that's a loss. As far as I know, the price of a bottle of God's nectar is much more expensive than the 10,000 yuan per bottle you said before. Let alone me, just the few of them will probably earn a lot. Tan Xiu said with a smile, I made a mistake and forgot that the price of the God's nectar has been reset by the group's top executives. However, it doesn't matter. With our relationship, we don't care about money. Dao Master Z curiously said, Is the God's nectar really that good to drink? How about selling some to me? About that. I'll say it first. This poor Taoist is very poor. I'm afraid I don't have too much money. Since Tan Xiu had taken such a big bargain from Dao Master Z today, he immediately waved his hand and said with a heroic spirit, Dao Master Z, with our friendship, do we still need to talk about money? How about this, if you pass by Star City on your way back, just stop there. I'll ask someone to get you hundreds of bottles of God's nectar for you to take away. Dao Master Z forced a smile and said, Benefactor Tang, there's no need for that much. We, master and disciple, have been living deep in the mountains for a long time, so we can't take away that much wine. You only need to give me 8 or 10 bottles, and that's enough. Tan Xiu said with a smile, no problem. You can directly tell the person in charge of the winery how much you want. Dao Master Z stood up and said, such being the case, this poor Taoist thanks a lot. Now that the poison in my disciple's body has been expelled, we'll take our leave. I'll also take my leave. Miao Wentong also stood up. Chapter 382. By the time Tan Xiu returned to the Blue Star Villa complex, the eastern sky had already turned bright. Despite not sleeping all night, he was still full of spirit at the moment. What he didn't expect was that Xue Chao's wife, Du Wan, had already woken up and was busy in the kitchen. Sister-in-law, you're up so early. Tan Xiu greeted her with a smile and prepared to go to the second floor to change his clothes. Wearing an apron, Du Wan turned her head and smilingly said, I'm used to getting up early at home. Eldest brother Tang, a woman came last night. She should be your girlfriend, right? Girlfriend? Thinking of Kang Xia, Tan Xiu just smiled and didn't explain. He nodded and said, I got it. Sister-in-law, don't play with me like Xue Chao and the others. Don't call me eldest brother Tang. Just call me Tan Xiu. Alright, you're busy. I'm going upstairs to change my clothes. Alright, go ahead. Come down for dinner later. Du Wan faintly smiled and turned back to continue cooking. When Tan Xiu came to the bedroom on the second floor, he saw Kang Xia still sleeping soundly in a man's white shirt. Her sleeping posture was very beautiful, curled up on her side like a sleeping kitten. On that absolutely beautiful face, her sensual little mouth would occasionally move, as if she was dreaming of delicious food in her sleep. Hee hee. Tan Xiu faintly smiled and pulled Xia Xia's quilt at the side to cover her. Then, he went to the cloakroom to get some clean clothes. After taking a shower, he put them on and walked out of the bathroom. He saw that Kang Xia had already woken up and was leaning on the bed, looking at him with a smile. You're awake? Asked Tan Xiu with a smile. Kang Xia nodded with a smile and asked, Our God's nectar won the first place in the wine tasting conference. I wanted to celebrate with you last night, but you didn't come back and I couldn't get through to your phone. With a surprised look, Tan Xiu picked up the mobile phone on the TV cabinet and looked at it. Then, he said with a smile, No wonder it's been so quiet since last night. It turns out that the phone ran out of battery and automatically shut down. I heard about the god's nectar. When I passed by the Jinhui Square on my way back in the morning, I saw the media reporting on the wine-tasting conference's situation on the big screen in the square. They focused on the god's nectar and the response was very good. Which place will you attend the opening ceremony 3 days later? Kang Xia asked with a smile. Tan Shou shook his head and said with a smile, I won't participate. After all, I'm a student now. It's not good for me to be too high profile. Let's look at the sales for the past 3 days. If the sales are good, I'll hold a celebration party for you. Where will it be held? Asked Kang Xia with a smile. I'll go back to Star City, said Tan Shou. Kang Xia's eyes lit up and she immediately said with a pleasantly surprised expression, then it's settled. By the way, is the one living downstairs your classmate? And his wife and children? Tan Shou nodded and said, that's right. He's a dormitory classmate. That brother was quite impressive. On his first day in Shanghai, he was injured because he was a good Samaritan and was hospitalized in Shanghai's First People's Hospital. When I visited him yesterday, I found that his life was very difficult. His wife and children also came from the mountains to Shanghai to look for him, so they have been staying in the hospital. So, I let them live here with me. Kang Xia suddenly understood and said with a smile, those who can act bravely for a just cause are not bad people at least. Do you plan to let them live here forever? That won't happen. Tan Shou said with a smile, Shui Chao's injury has healed. I'm afraid he'll have to live in the campus dormitory. As for his wife and children, we'll see how he'll arrange them. Alright, let's not talk about them. Since you're awake, don't stay on the bed. Go wash up and let's go downstairs to have breakfast. Did you buy breakfast? Kang Xia asked with a smile. Tan Shou shook his head and said, it's Shui Chao's wife. She's making breakfast downstairs. Kang Xia suddenly understood. After entering the bathroom, she came out wearing pajamas 10 minutes later. Because she had brought her luggage from the hotel yesterday, she took out a set of clean and tidy clothes and put them on. When she went downstairs with Tan Shou, she asked, I'm going back to Star City tonight. What are you going to do today? Do you want me to accompany you? Tan Shou pondered for a moment and asked, do you know the price of iron essence now? I don't know. Kang Xia shook her head. Then forget it. I'll let Qi Nan handle it. Tan Shou said. Since you're going to leave tonight, let's go out and buy something. I'm afraid I'll be busy for some time starting today. Busy with what? Kang Xia asked curiously. Refining tools. Tan Shou said with a faint smile. What is refining tools? Kang Xia asked with a confused expression. Tan Shou said with a smile, you haven't officially set foot on the path of cultivation, so you naturally don't know what refining tools is. Wait until you can sense the qi in the future, and when you can use it like your own arm, I'll tell you what refining tools is. After saying that, Tan Shou dialed Qi Nan's phone and said, help me buy some steel and ores. I'll send you a text message later. Try to buy all of them before tonight and then send them to the designated place. Alright. Qi Nan happily agreed. Tan Shou used the meal time to text the things he needed, as well as the address to be sent to Qi Nan. After that, he finished eating breakfast with Shui Chao's family of 3. The breakfast was very simple. Baked salted pancakes, cooked millet porridge, and 2 pickled vegetables that were obviously bought from the supermarket. However, in addition to these, everyone also had a boiled egg. Simple. Thrifty. This was the evaluation given by Tan Shou and Kang Xia inwardly. After eating, Tan Shou said with a smile, sister-in-law's pancake skills are good. It's very delicious. It seems that I'll have good luck in the future. Tan Shou, I'm afraid you won't like it. Du Wang was a bit embarrassed and stammered. Actually, I know that my breakfast is very simple. If it's not to your liking, I'll make something else tomorrow. Sister-in-law, it's actually very good, Tan Xiu said with a smile. I grew up with a hard life. I've lived a life of hunger and satiety, so you don't have to worry about it. Shortly put, I'll eat whatever you eat in the future. Duan finally felt relieved. She smiled and cleaned up the tableware. Then, she said, all right, I'll go out to buy some vegetables. Are you going to have lunch at home? I'll be busy for the next few days, Tan Xiu said with a smile. I'm afraid I can't come back for the time being. I'll be back once I'm done with my business. Big Bro Tang, are you going to participate in the military training? Asked Xue Chao. I've asked for a leave, so I won't participate in the military training. Tan Xiu shook his head. Upon hearing this, Xue Chao realized that Tan Xiu probably had something very important to do. He nodded and said, Big Bro Tang, can I ask you a favor? If there's something, just say it. Tan Xiu said. Although I didn't go to the campus to register, the university's leaders have helped me with the registration procedures. I heard from Xue Chao that my textbooks have also been brought to the dormitory. Can you find some time to help me bring my textbooks? I can't waste my time here to recuperate. I've brought my textbooks. You can read mine first. Tan Xiu said with a smile. I'll go to the campus to get them for you after you've finished reading them. All right. Xue Chao said with a smile. Tan Xiu looked at Kang Xia and said with a smile, come with me to buy some things. They'll be very useful. All right. Kang Xia faintly smiled and greeted Xue Chao and his wife. Then, she and Tan Xiu walked out of the villa's hall. As the garage's electric door opened, the duo casually drove a car and left. Hubby, what a beautiful car. Duan, who stood at the door, turned her head and called out to Xue Chao. I'll buy you a good car later, Xue Chao said with a smile. You only know how to brag. Duan replied with a smile. Then, she returned to the kitchen and began to wash the dishes. For the whole morning, Tan Xiu took Kang Xia to buy a lot of yellow paper, cinnabar, writing brushes, and other items. They went to several stores and bought all of their stock. In the end, they couldn't even fit in the trunk and could only put it in the back seat. Soon after, the duo arrived at the Southern Division Villa complex. Boss, where are we? Kang Xia curiously looked at the surrounding environment. Her eyes finally fell on the luxurious villa in front and she couldn't help but ask curiously. This is another property of mine in Shanghai, Tan Xiu said. I have something important to do, so I set this place as the location. Boss, you actually have so many properties in Shanghai? Kang Xia asked with a surprised expression. Tan Xiu said with a smile, my aunt gave me a few, and my dad also helped me buy a few. In any case, I don't need to spend money on these properties. When you have time in the future, when you come to Shanghai again, take these keys and look around. Whichever one you like, you can stay there in the future. With a smile on her face, Kang Xia said, why do I feel like you're raising me like a canary? However, if you can find someone to manage the magnificent Tang Corporation, you can also raise me like a canary. As for me, I'll have my beauty done every day, take care of the flowers and plants, and then sign up for a cooking class to learn cooking skills. Didn't I say that? If you want to tie a man's heart, you must tie his stomach. I can also. Stop. Tan Xiu snappily glared at Kang Xia. He shook his head and went to the trunk. He moved all the things he bought and put them into the garage of dozens of square meters. Since the garage's door faced the sun and was taller and bigger than the average garage, Tan Xiu chose this place to refine artifacts. After lunch, 4 trucks slowly drove into the villa complex. After stopping outside the villa's courtyard, Qi Nan got down from the sports car behind the 4 trucks. Boss, I've bought the materials you wanted for you. However, there are still 4 trucks that haven't arrived because the quantity is a bit big. We're loading them now. Qi Nan came before Tan Xiu and reported. Let the workers unload the goods first. Tan Xiu said. Put the materials for 1 truck into the garage and place it close to the inside. The other 2 trucks can be put in the courtyard. Chi Nan agreed and asked the movers who came with her to move the materials into the warehouse. Then, she came to Tan Xiu's side and curiously asked, "Boss, you bought so many materials. Do you want to reinforce this villa?" Tan Xiu lightly smiled and said, "No. You don't need to ask. You don't need to ask too much. Send me another 4 carts of materials in 2 days, and that should be enough." Chapter 383. As night fell, the materials from the 8 trucks were finally moved down. 2 of them were sent to the garage, while the rest were piled up in the courtyard. During this period of time, Chi Nanyu had to contact dozens of movers to finish moving the goods. As for Kang Xia, Tan Xiu didn't have time to send her off since she booked a flight ticket in the evening. He could only ask Chi Nan to send her to the airport. Everything was ready. Tan Xiu lit a cigarette. After smoking it, he went to the 2nd floor to take a shower and slept comfortably for 4 to 5 hours. Afterward, he went to the study room where the yellow paper and cinnabar ink were piled up. One must have true fire if he wanted to refine a tool. Tan Xiu used the true fire spell method and found that the star force inside his body could only last for half an hour at most. It was impossible to use the true fire spell method to refine a tool. Therefore, he could only use another method, which was the true fire talisman, and he needed a lot of them. He needed a steady stream of them until the end of the refining process. For the next 2 days, aside from going out to eat something, Tan Xiu only slept for 2 hours every day. The rest of his time was spent on making true fire talismans or restoring the star force he had consumed. It wasn't until the morning of the 3rd day that he made 108 true fire talismans. Every true fire symbol can burn for 4 hours, which is 4 hours. 108 true fire talismans can last for more than 400 hours. It's enough. Tan Xiu took all the true fire talismans and went outside to the courtyard. He found 2 core experts of the Everlasting Feast Hall waiting in the courtyard. "Your task is to guard the courtyard for me. No matter who comes, don't let them disturb me. Remember, if someone tries to break in, don't easily hurt them." Tan Xiu asked Chi Nan to arrange these 2 experts to protect him. Understood. The 2 core experts of the Everlasting Feast Hall nodded at the same time. Tan Xiu hesitated for a moment. He was still a bit worried. After all, he must not be disturbed during the refining process. Otherwise, the refining process might fail and waste the precious materials. He didn't care about wasting ordinary materials, but he couldn't afford to lose 3 precious ores. "Where's Chi Nan?" "Boss, Director Chi is working in the restaurant." "Call her here too," said Tan Xiu. "I'm going to take a nap. I'll see her when I wake up." Following that, Tang Xiu slept for 12 hours. When he woke up from his deep sleep, he was full of energy, and the star force he had consumed had also been restored. He went downstairs and asked Chi Nan, who had been waiting for a long time, to help him prepare some food. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, he smilingly said, "I'm still a bit worried about letting them protect me. What I was about to do was important. Therefore, I hope that you can stay here and personally protect me." Chi Nan said excitedly, "Don't worry, boss. I'll definitely not leave your side." Tan Xiu nodded with a smile and walked out of the room to the garage. He turned on the lights in the garage and closed the garage door facing the sun. "Go!" As Tan Xiu waved his hand, the demon god spirit devourer cauldron in his palm directly flew out. After Tan Xiu sent out a few palm prints, its body began to grow bigger and turned into a 2-meter-high cauldron in the blink of an eye. "I'll first refine iron and copper essence, and then forge those ordinary ores." The project of refining an interspatial ring was very big for the current Tan Xiu. Hundreds of tons of materials needed to be completely extracted and purified. He estimated that he could only purify the essence of a fist at most, which could be used for refining. True Fire Talisman, burn. Tan Xiu took out a True Fire Talisman and stuffed it into the furnace chamber of the cauldron. He then began to cut the pieces neatly, with each piece weighing dozens of kilograms, and threw them into the furnace. Since he had completely controlled the demon god spirit devourer cauldron, he had already activated the array inside the cauldron. At this moment, with the burning of the true fire talisman, if someone could enter the demon god spirit devourer cauldron, they would definitely find that the inside was very big, at least thousands of times bigger than it looked from the outside. The neatly cut iron, copper, and other materials were continuously thrown into the demon god spirit devourer cauldron by Tan Xiu. Half an hour later, after the demon god spirit devourer cauldron was preheated, the furnace chamber inside was plated with a layer of red lightning. The pieces of materials began to smoke and even showed signs of melting. Shuangqing Province, Star City. In the general manager's office of the magnificent Tang Corporation's HQ, Kang Xia crossed her arms and stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, watching the bustling scene outside. Behind her, Scarblade Chang and Su Quan looked a bit perturbed. Although they believed that the god's nectar would definitely be a good start, they had not received the news yet, so they couldn't rest their hearts. Su Quan, how much time is left before the opening? Kang Xia asked without turning her head. Su Quan replied without hesitation, 14 minutes left. The opening ceremony of the specialized stores across the country is about to begin. Kang Xia nodded without a word. She was actually very nervous. After all, the god's nectar was the first product of the magnificent Tang Corporation to start selling. It was related to whether the magnificent Tang Corporation could cause a sensation in the country and gain a huge influence. If it was successful today, then her follow-up plan would be to launch the skin care lotion and the scar removal cream a week later. If the sales of these two products were good, the health products produced by the company would be launched a month later. She was very ambitious. She wanted the majority of the people in the country to often mention the magnificent Tang Corporation or its products in the second half of the year. She wanted to make everyone who mentioned the magnificent Tang Corporation's products couldn't help but give a thumbs up. Time fleeted by. In the blink of an eye, 20 minutes had passed. While Kang Xia, Scarblade Chang, and Su Quan were quietly waiting for the news, the short Andy dashed into the office and shouted, "Chief Kang, we just got the feedback from the Imperial City and Shanghai City. They said that the threshold of our specialized store there is almost broken by the stampede. The 4 branches in the 2 cities have stocked up a total of 24,000 bottles of God's nectar, and they were all sold out in just a few minutes." Ding dong, a notification sound came from Kang Xia's mobile phone. When she opened her WeChat and saw the video that was sent, a bright smile appeared on her beautiful face. The video was shot by a senior manager of the magnificent Tang Corporation and showed the situation at the entrance of one of the stores in the provincial capital. It was crowded. The entrance of the store was so crowded that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Many people tried their best, yet they couldn't even step into the store. What did it mean to be popular? Such a scene could absolutely be called as popular. Scarblade Chang and Su Quan quickly came over and watched the video together. Had it been any other time, they would have never dared to do so. After all, Kang Xia had the absolute right to speak in the magnificent Tang Corporation and had a very strong prestige. But at this moment, they couldn't care about it as they wanted to know the sales situation of the god's nectar. Awesome! After watching the video, Scarblade Chang fiercely waved his arm and sighed, "My choice at that time was really wise. Coming to Star City with Boss really gave me a chance to show off my skills. Chief Kang, do you want to add an assembly line? Our winery can only produce tens of thousands of cases of God's nectar every month. I'm afraid the supply will fall short of the demand in the future." Kang Xia was also a bit tempted. But recalling the starvation sales plan formulated by Tan Xiu at that time, she finally suppressed the idea and shook her head, "We don't need it. Our magnificent Tang Corporation has invested too much in the beginning. Let's slow down and stabilize the situation first. We'll wait for the large amount of funds to come back, and then we'll talk about expanding the production." Scarblade Chang hesitated for a moment before he nodded and said, "Since Chief Kang has decided, then let's do it according to your plan." A glint flashed in Su Quan's eyes as he said, Chief Kong, since our god's nectar is in short supply, I think we can increase the production line once our funds are in place. After all, god's nectar is a kind of liquor, and it's an extremely easily consumed item. Also, we've missed some things before, and we should make up for it this time. What things? Kang Xia was surprised. I recently learned some marketing methods by myself and found that our business people are inextricably linked with the government, said Su Quan. If there are some people in the officialdom who we can't afford to provoke and want to get some god's nectar from us through their special relationship, I'm afraid it will affect the operation of our group if we refuse. Kang Xia stared blankly for a moment before she suddenly came to her senses. She then forced a smile and said, if it wasn't for your reminder, I would have forgotten about this matter. Then, you immediately return to the factory and stock up 1,000 boxes of god's nectar. Even if the exclusive stores across the country are seriously out of stock, we still can't ship these boxes away. No problem. I'll do it. Su Quan nodded. Suddenly, he seemed to recall something and quickly said, Chief Kong, do you want to send some to the capital? For example, the boss's family. Kang Xia hesitated for a moment before she nodded and said, I'll handle this matter myself. You go first. All right. Su Quan quickly left the office with a smile. Scarblade Chung didn't leave. He was still waiting for the sales situation of the exclusive stores in other cities. To his pleasant surprise, half an hour later, all the exclusive stores in all the cities sent back the news that all the god's nectar in their stores were sold out. There were still countless people crowding outside the exclusive stores, clamoring to buy it. Many of them even paid the money in advance to the exclusive stores, hoping that the next batch would be delivered to them immediately. Refuse everyone's request. Kang Xia passed down the order. Scarblade Chang's heart that was hanging in suspense finally fell down. He looked at the smiling Kang Xia and said, Chief Kong, do you have any other instructions? If not, I'll go back to the winery to keep an eye on it. You did a great job, Scarblade Chang, said Kang Xia with a smile. The boss told me that if our god's nectar starts to sell and achieves good results, you'll be rewarded. Your salary will be doubled starting from this month. As for the dividends, we'll talk about it at the end of the year. Scarblade Chang's eyes lit up as he said with a smile, Thank you, Chief Kong. Please help me convey my gratitude to the big boss. Kang Xia waved her hand and said with a smile, Then go back. The boss may come back in a few days to hold a celebration banquet for us. You should prepare for it. All right. The smile on Scarblade Chang's face turned thicker. Today's 4 chapters have been released, and there are still more than 20 votes left for the 1,600 monthly votes. Brothers and sisters, you can do it. Tomorrow, it's up to you to add 1 or 2 chapters. There's no upper limit to the release. As long as the brothers and sisters dare to smash the votes, Quiet Night will dare to accept the challenge. That's right, for every additional 50 fans, you can also add 1 more chapter. Quiet Night will update the Immortal World's news every week, and will interact with them in a timely manner. There's also a rain of red packets from time to time _. Chapter 384. Inside the garage of the villa in the Nank Villa complex, heat waves billowed and raging. Tan Xiao was bare-chested, sweating profusely. His arms mechanically threw pieces of materials into the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. Under the supervision of his divine sense, every piece of refined iron, refined copper, ore, and other materials that were thrown into the cauldron would be melted into a paste within a few breaths. Then, it would evaporate under the high temperature, leaving behind only the essence the size of a strand of hair. What a great cauldron! The smile on Tan Xiao's face never diminished. He was even confident that if he had this demon god spirit devourer cauldron in the immortal world, his efficiency in refining and alchemy would be improved several times. Even the quality of the refined products would be greatly improved. Chi Nan, tell them to move the materials into the garage. Understood. As the electric door was opened, the billowing heat wave made Chi Nan, who was waiting outside, retreat a few steps. A horrified look also appeared on her gorgeous face. "Boss, can you stay inside for a long time with such a high temperature?" Chi Nan was aware of Tan Xiu's ability, but she couldn't help but ask after enduring the heat wave and entering the garage. Chi Nan sensed it. Not counting the temperature inside the cauldron, just the temperature in the warehouse was probably more than 50 or 60 degrees. Even the lights inside had been extinguished without her knowing. It was obvious that the high temperature had caused a problem with the wiring inside. "It's all right. This temperature can't hurt me." Tan Xiu grinned. "Don't waste my time. Tell your men to move all the materials inside. If the task is big, you can transfer some more people here." "The task you gave is really big, boss," said Chi Nan. "I'll transfer some more people here. But can this cauldron hold so many materials? There was a truck of materials sent here before, but didn't it also disappear?" Tan Xiu lightly smiled. "All right, you worry about what you should worry about. Don't worry about what you shouldn't." "Understood." Chi Nan nodded respectfully with a solemn expression. In the blink of an eye, 6 days had passed. In these 6 days, Tan Xiu did not eat, drink, or sleep. He paid close attention to the refinement of the materials in the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. Finally, all the ordinary materials were used up. The essence extracted from the demon god spirit devourer cauldron was only the size of an adult's fist. "If you still don't come, I won't be able to make it." Tan Xiu frowned and looked out of the garage. However, under the night sky outside, more than a dozen core members of the Everlasting Feast Hall were sitting paralyzed on the ground, gasping for breath. Tired. He was so tired that he didn't even want to lift a finger. "Chi Nan, call them again using the contact information I gave you before. Tell them to come here as soon as possible." Tan Xiu frowned and glanced at Chi Nan outside the garage. "All right." A few minutes later. After Chi Nan made the call, she learned that the truck from Star City had arrived outside the villa complex. Therefore, Chi Nan brought the car over as fast as she could. "Move it over." Upon seeing Ban's Ho, Tan Xiu immediately called out without hesitation. Ban's Ho was obviously a bit excited to see Tan Xiu again. But at the moment, he could only suppress his excitement due to the current situation. He quickly opened the truck's door and moved a few hundred pounds of sky sandstones from inside. "Where should I put them, boss?" asked Ban's Ho while enduring the high temperature. "Just put them on the ground," said Tan Xiu. "You've completed your task and came right on time. Go. Since you've come to Demonic City, have fun for 2 days and then go back to your business." "Boss, there are still some things I haven't reported to you yet," said Ban's Ho. "How about I wait for you to finish your business and then report to you?" Tan Xiu nodded and watched Ban's Ho leave. Without hesitation, he threw the few hundred pounds of sky sandstones into the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. 2 hours later. Tan Xiu's expression turned particularly serious. After closing the garage's electric door, he waved his hand to roll up the wintertide fluorite and star fragment stones from the ground and threw them into the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. At the same time, he cast the imperial wind art. His toes stepped on the void and his palms constantly shot out palm prints. The palm prints formed veined patterns. The veined patterns rotated in the void and combined into the materials inside the cauldron. Then, the Star City array veined patterns made the extracted essence exude a very strong oppressive aura. "Retreat. Quickly retreat." After Chi Nan and the dozen or so strong men suddenly felt this suffocating aura, they rushed out of the villa one after another. They only stopped and looked into the distance after retreating dozens of meters away from the villa with bewildered and uncertain expressions. "Chief Chi, what's going on?" a strong man hurriedly asked. "Don't ask what you shouldn't ask," said Chi Nan in a deep voice. "Boss has ordered that none of you are to speak about what he did here. Just act as if nothing happened these days." "Understood." The strong man nodded. Chi Nan stood outside the villa's courtyard and looked inside through the gate. What made her eyes light up was that even the powerful oppressive aura didn't force Tan Xiu out. She was very curious about how powerful her boss was. How many mysterious and unfathomable means did he have? Tan Xiu stood in the air in front of the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. After the palm prints formed by his star force were all inserted into the fist-sized substance, his expression turned particularly serious. His figure flashed lightning fast to the corner of the garage and tightly grasped the void crack stone he had placed there. I need the void crack stone to refine an interspatial ring. There are a lot of materials here, so I can make a dagger out of it. Tan Xiu's mind was racing. The extracted essence began to slowly change according to the shape imagined in Tan Xiu's mind. Soon after, when the dagger's shape was completely formed, Tan Xiu once again inserted various palm prints and array vein patterns. Condense, with a low roar, Tan Xiu pointed with his finger. Suddenly, the dagger with a deep blood groove and a scale pattern on the back solidified. As Tan Xiu's divine sense swept out and left the demon god spirit devourer cauldron, it quietly floated in front of Tan Xiu with a trembling sound. Puff! Tan Xiu's finger was cut on the blade, and the moment the blood was absorbed by the dagger, Tan Xiu already felt a blood connection with this sharp dagger. Even the movement of his fingers could be easily controlled as if he was controlling his own limbs. Void crack stone. Tan Xiu put away the dagger he named Bloodthirster, and threw the void crack stone into the demon god spirit devourer cauldron with full concentration. As his palm prints were sent out again and again, the remaining essence of the material gradually began to shrink. After the void crack stone melted into it, Tan Xiu's expression changed, and he suddenly opened his hands. Triple control with one thought. At this moment, his body was trembling slightly. This was the first time he had truly refined a weapon after returning from the immortal realm, and it was more difficult than he had imagined. His muscles were trembling, and his blood vessels and tendons were bulging. In his dantian, the star force in the black vortex finally stopped spurting out. Expand, open. Tan Xiu's palm prints kept padding, merging into the three separated essence of the material. His speed was getting faster and faster. Gradually, the naked eye could no longer see the trajectory of his arms and palms. The oppressive aura from the demon god spirit devourer cauldron was getting stronger and stronger. Even more. In the end, Chi Nan and the others outside had already retreated 100 steps before they felt a little better. And the residents near the villa were forced to run out of their homes to watch from afar, feeling suffocated. A few of the more courageous and burly men even forced their way to Chi Nan and the others' side to inquire about the cause of the matter. Crack! Just when Tan Xiu tried his best to expand the inner space of the three interspatial rings by more than a dozen square meters, he could no longer expand it. A ruthless look flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes. He attracted thunder and lightning, and finally expanded the space in the interspatial ring by one fold. Immediately. Under his control, he took out two of the interspatial rings from the demon god spirit devourer cauldron, and then he focused all his spiritual force on the last interspatial ring in the demon god spirit devourer cauldron. Tan Xiu's divine sense included the interspatial ring, and he was thinking about something in his mind. My cultivation is too low, and the Dharma spells I can use are few and far between. Previously, my divine sense was divided into three parts. Even if I attracted thunder and lightning to expand the space in the interspatial ring by one fold, it can only cover an area of more than 20 square meters. It's too small, really too small. If I focus on refining this one now, I should be able to double the space inside. Among the Dharma spells I can now use the Four Guardians formation. Although inscribing the Four Guardians formation in the interspatial ring is a bit of a fuss, it can still expand the space in the interspatial ring by a lot. Let's give it a try and see what the result is. After pondering for a while, Tan Xiu immediately began to work. However, engraving the four symbols guardian array inside the interspatial ring was much more difficult than he had imagined. Finally, his mental force was almost completely exhausted before he was barely able to finish engraving it. It's done. Tan Xiu's face was slightly pale, and beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. He waved his hands instantly, and as the lid of the cauldron opened, the interspatial ring flew out and floated quietly in front of him. I almost failed. Fortunately, I had a breakthrough in my cultivation a few days ago, and my divine sense has also increased by several times. Otherwise, I'm afraid that even refining this one in front of me would be too much for me, let alone refining 3 interspatial rings at the same time. Tan Xiu reached out and pinched the interspatial ring with a smile hanging on the corner of his mouth. He was very satisfied with the size of the space inside the interspatial ring. After all, it was more than 100 square meters inside, which was enough to store a lot of things. Moreover, as his cultivation realm improved, he could refine this interspatial ring again, and the internal space could also be continuously expanded. Extinguish. With a wave of Tan Xiu's hand, the burning true fire talisman automatically extinguished, and the intense heat also quickly dissipated. Quiet Night found that I'm really getting old. Every time I erupt, my body will collapse after 2 days, as if I'm suffering from a serious illness. For the time being, I'll keep 2 chapters a day, from 8 in the morning to 5 in the evening. After I've recuperated, I'll make up for the chapters with monthly votes and chapters one by one. In addition, last night, Quiet Night updated the character images of Yuan Chuling, Jia Ruidao, Dao Master Z, Long Zhengyu, and Ouyang Lulu on the WeChat official account. If you like these characters, please go to the WeChat official account to discuss and leave a message. Quiet Night will pick 1 or 2 of the most popular characters to write for them. Chapter 385. Inside the messy garage, Tan Xiu dripped his blood to bind the ring to his body and walked out of the garage. Originally, he didn't think that refining something would cause such a big commotion. But when he came outside the villa's courtyard, he could only force a wry smile inwardly when he saw the residents surrounding him, as well as Qi Nan and the Everlasting Feast Hall's core members. Qi Nan, come here. Standing outside the courtyard, Tan Xiu waved to Qi Nan, who was nearly 100 meters away. Qi Nan's eyes lit up. After feeling the pressure emanating from the villa disappear, she immediately gestured to the Everlasting Feast Hall's core members and then ran toward Tan Xiu. Boss. Is it over? Qi Nan asked with a curious look on her face. It's over, Tan Xiu nodded and smilingly said, but it should have caused quite a big commotion, right? Yeah. Qi Nan nodded. The residents of the nearby villas were forced far away by the oppressive aura. Some of them have reported it, but we couldn't stop it. If my guess is correct, the police will arrive in a few minutes at most. I see, said Tan Xiu. I'll leave this place to you. I'll take my leave first. When you're done here, remember to help me sell this villa. I'll get it done, said Qi Nan respectfully. Tan Xiu turned and walked into the courtyard. He picked up his coat and asked after putting it on, I've been busy these days. Did you receive any important calls? Your mother called you and said that she has arrived in Shanghai and is now waiting for you in the Blue Star Villa complex, said Qi Nan. Also, Chief Kong called a few times to ask about your situation. She also told me to tell you that the God's Nectar business is booming and all the goods have been sold out. She didn't dare to accept the orders without your permission. That's right, there's also someone called Zhengyu looking for you. He said that he has something important to discuss with you. Tan Xiu grabbed the car key and sat in the driver's seat. He took the mobile phone from Qi Nan and nodded, all right, I got it. I'll contact them later. Start. Leave. Soon after, Tang Xiu left the villa complex with a huge harvest. He lit a cigarette with a lighter and took 2 puffs. Only then did his highly tense mood ease down. After dialing Long Zhengyu's number, Tan Xiu put on his Bluetooth headset. Why are you looking for me? Long Zhengyu's voice came from the phone. Tan Xiu, I can finally hear your voice. I've been looking for you for the past few days to discuss something with you. Tan Xiu said, Go ahead, I'm listening. Long Zhengyu said, you know about Hong Kong, right? There are a lot of feng shui masters there. They are proficient in geography and feng shui. I've even heard that there are dragon veins. In short, when I passed through Hong Kong, I accidentally met a feng shui master there. He learned that the 9 Dragons Island you bought is being rebuilt, so he hopes that he can take a look at the feng shui. What do you think? Would you like me to invite him to 9 Dragons Island? Feng shui master. A cold glint flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes. He shook his head and said, no need. As for the reconstruction of 9 Dragons Island, you must follow the architectural plan I designed before and not make any changes. We're friends, so I can tell you that if you listen to some feng shui master and don't follow my design, I'll demolish and rebuild everything. Is it that serious? Long Zhengyu forced a smile. He's a feng shui master, after all. I think you should listen to his opinion. Maybe. Tan Xiu interrupted Long Zhengyu and said in a deep voice, there's no maybe. Don't tell me anything unexpected. You're an engineer, and I'm sure you know how serious the consequences will be if you randomly change the design during the construction. Long Zhengyu, if you think your Long family can bear the cost of rebuilding 9 Dragons Island, you can give it a try. Hearing the seriousness in Tan Xiu's tone, Long Zhengyu forced a wry smile and said, all right. I'm the one with good intentions who thinks ill of me. Forget it since you don't need it. I'll find a way to deal with that feng shui master. Tan Xiu was still a bit worried and exhorted again, you know my architectural design ability, Long Zhengyu. I won't hide it from you. Even if there are some minor changes during the construction, it will affect the entire design. I bought 9 Dragons Island for more than 2 billion, and I'll invest another 10 to 20 billion to rebuild it. Since I've handed it over to you, I hope you won't let me down. Long Zhengyu took a deep breath and said, I understand. Don't worry. That's right, when will you return to Star City? I'll be staying in 9 Dragons Island for a few days, then I'll go back to Star City. I'll contact you if I go back to Star City, said Tan Xiu. He hung up the phone. A sneer appeared on Tan Xiu's face. A feng shui master. What kind of joke is this? Who in the world is better than him when it comes to feng shui? He had meticulously arranged the 9 Dragons Island's reconstruction project and spent a lot of time and energy to draw the reconstruction plan, which was absolutely perfect. He would never allow others to modify it without authorization, even if it was Long Zhengyu. Immediately after, Tan Xiu dialed Kang Xia's cell number. After the call was connected, Tan Xiu said with a smile, has the God's Nectar been on the market? I heard the business is booming and all the God's Nectar has been sold out. Boss, I thought you didn't care about the sales of the God's Nectar. Kang Xia said with a smile. That's right, the God's Nectar we've distributed in major cities all over the country has been sold out shortly after the opening ceremony. The second batch of goods is now on the way to the exclusive stores in major cities all over the country and should be delivered tomorrow. You've earned a lot of money, haven't you? Tan Xiu said with a smile. The finance department has calculated that the net profit from the first batch of God's Nectar has been more than 76 billion yuan, said Kang Xia happily. Although the quantity of the second batch of God's Nectar is relatively less, it should still be a net profit of more than 1 billion yuan. That's great, Tan Xiu said with a smile. Such a huge profit is much higher than what I previously thought. Tell me about the skin care lotion and scar removal cream. Have these 2 cosmetics already been on the market? The skin care lotion and the scar removal cream have just been launched and sold a lot with the help of the popularity of the God's Nectar, said Kang Xia. But you also know that it's very difficult for cosmetics to have a big effect in a short time. Let's wait for a few more days. I dare say that after a few more days, the customers who have bought our products will definitely help us publicize it. Fragrant wine needs no fear of the deep alley. Tan Xiu said with a smile. Now that I have this moment's circle, I can easily share good things. Alright, I'll talk to you later. I'll take some time to go back to Star City and hold a celebration banquet for you. We're a group of top executives, and we're all looking forward to seeing you. Kang Xia said with a smile. I know. Tan Xiu said with a smile and then directly hung up the phone. Although the revenue from the God's Nectar was much more than he expected, he was also aware of one thing. The winery's production lines were too few, and the God's Nectar sold today was probably the vast majority of the storage in the past few months. This time, he could earn 2 to 3 billion yuan, but he was sure that such a large-scale sale could only be carried out once in a year and a half. Usually, he still had to operate it slowly and steadily. As for the skin care lotion and the scar removal cream, he didn't need to worry about them. Judging from the products in the world's cosmetics industry, the skin care lotion and the scar removal cream could instantly kill them. When the time came, it would spread from 1 to 10, and from 10 to 100. Sooner or later, these two cosmetics would become the world's top luxury jewelry brands. Go ahead. The current selling price of these two cosmetics was no worse than the world's top cosmetics. Blue Star Villa Complex. After Tan Xiu drove back, just as he entered the courtyard, he saw Du Wan washing clothes inside, and sitting next to her was his mother, Su Lingyun. Mom, how come you're here? Tan Xiu greeted her with a smile and asked. Upon seeing Tan Xiu, Su Lingyun was happy at first. But when she saw Tan Xiu's tired face and dirty appearance, she suddenly felt distressed and greeted him. She then said, It's that little thing you got. It made a mess at home in Southgate Town. It didn't hurt me, but even your father's leg was torn by its claws. So, I came here personally to send it to you. Little thing. Tan Xiu stared blankly. He suddenly recalled the fierce beast he had subdued. A faint smile appeared on his face as he quickly called out to it through his mind. Whoosh, a figure flickered and instantly appeared in front of Tan Xiu. Tan Xiu was unprepared as it threw itself into Tan Xiu's arms. Little thing, didn't I say that you can't hurt people without special circumstances? Who told you to hurt people? Tan Xiu grabbed its neck and patted its head as he smilingly scolded. The little thing, which looked like a cat and a leopard, quickly showed a flattering expression and chirped a few times. Then, it looked at Su Lingyun, meaning that it was protecting her. Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing. He patted its head and said, Remember, you're not allowed to hurt anyone without my permission in the future. Else, I'll kill you and make a pot of delicious stew. The little thing shrunk its head and behaved. Tan Xiu looked at Su Lingyun and smilingly said, Mom, do you know each other? Yeah, we know each other. Su Lingyun said with a smile. These two kids are good. You can take care of each other if you live together. However, I'd like to ask you, what's the matter with your sloppy appearance? Also, why didn't you participate in the military training? Tan Xiu forced a wry smile inwardly. He couldn't tell the truth at this time, so he could only make up a story to deal with it. He said, Mom, you also know that my company's products have been launched on the market, so I have to go to another place to oversee it. Also, it doesn't matter whether I participate in the military training or not. I'll follow your instructions and learn the culture and knowledge well, so I can smoothly get my university diploma. As for my current appearance, it's because I'm tired, hungry, and uncomfortable from rushing back from another place. Chapter 386. There was a kind of love in the world that was vast and selfless, there was a kind of feeling in the world that was solemn and sacred. It made people yearn for it, and it made people happy for a lifetime. It was the most ordinary maternal love. Su Lingyun had endured hardships to raise Tan Xiu. It could be said that Tan Xiu was Su Lingyun's flesh and blood. At this moment, when she heard Tan Xiu saying that he was tired, hungry, and uncomfortable, she threw everything to the back of her mind. She quickly got up and said, Xiu, go rest first. I'll cook for you. I'll call you when it's done. Thank you, Mom. Tan Xiu said with a smile. He then nodded to Du Wan and entered the villa. He quickly went to the bedroom on the second floor and chose a new set of clothes in the cloakroom. After taking it to the bathroom, he took a comfortable hot bath and then went to the refreshed study room. Inside the study room, there were a lot of very precious things inside. Originally, when Tan Xiu let Xue Chao, Du Wan, and their family of 3 live here, he was a bit worried that they would move the things in his study room. But now, it seemed that they were really kind and honest and didn't move anything inside. Collect. Tan Xiu waved his hand as all the valuable things in the study room floated up and were instantly stored into the interspatial ring. There are still a few wintertide fluorites and star fragment stones left. The void crack stones have been consumed, so it will be difficult to refine an interspatial ring later. However, there are still a lot of sky sandstones. I won't have to worry about precious materials if I use them for refining later. Tan Xiu nodded with satisfaction. He planned to return to Star City in 2 days to store all the valuable things in his study room in South Gate Town, as well as the materials in the freezer in the Old River Street district, into the interspatial ring. Afterward, Tan Xiu took advantage of the meal time to chat with his mother and decided to return to Star City early in the morning. Therefore, Tan Xiu directly notified the captain of the private plane at the airport. He also informed Kang Xia of the approximate time to return to Star City. Tan Xiu was very tired after nearly 10 days of busyness. Because of this, he slept from day to night and from night to dawn. He slept for more than 30 hours. However, after he woke up, the feeling of comfort throughout his body was wonderful. Star City Airport. Kang Xia was wearing a beige dress, a coffee-colored vest, a peaked cap, and high-heeled shoes as she stood outside the exit of the airport, overlooking the flow of people constantly pouring out of the exit. Su Quan, on the other hand, was holding the car keys with a smile hanging on the corner of his mouth. He leaned against a pillar behind him, his eyes sweeping over Kang Xia's face from time to time. As a shrewd person, how could he not see through Tang Xia's thoughts? But it was also because he could see through Kang Xia's thoughts that he worshipped Tan Xiu even more. Director Kang, there's still 16 minutes before Tan Xiu arrives. We're ahead of schedule. Kang Xia turned her head and glared at Su Quan. Then, she snorted and said, "It's not like I don't know. Do I need you to remind me? Have you done the promotion plan for skin care lotion and scar cream? If you haven't done it, then hurry up." Su Quan gulped down a mouthful of saliva. He stared with wide eyes as he pointed to the surroundings and asked, "Kang? Chief Kang, you mean, you want me to do the promotion plan here?" Kang Xia rolled her eyes at him and snorted, "Can't you do it here? If you can't, then go to the parking lot outside and wait." "All right. I'll do it." Su Quan rolled his eyes inwardly. He was too lazy to go back to the parking lot. So, he directly took out his smartphone and pretended to fiddle with it. He could see that as long as he didn't talk too much, even if he didn't put on an act, perhaps Kang Xia wouldn't reprimand him. Time fleeted by. After nearly half an hour, Kang Xia's eyes finally lit up as she saw Tan Xiu coming out. However, what made her complexion slightly change was that Tan Xiu's mother, Su Lingyun, unexpectedly came back together with Tan Xiu. "Huh? Chief Kang, when did Auntie go to Shanghai?" At this time, Su Quan had also seen Tan Xiu and Su Lingyun, so he asked with a surprised expression. Kang Xia subconsciously glanced at him and whispered, "You ask me, but who am I supposed to ask? Remember not to talk too much later. If you can't bear it and want to say something, help me put in some good words." A smile outlined on the corner of Su Quan's mouth as he said, "I got it. I know what to do." Kang Xia looked at him with satisfaction and then strode forward to greet him, "Boss, I knew you would come back at this time, but I didn't expect that Auntie would also go to Shanghai and come back together with you. Auntie, it must have been hard on you all the way here, right?" Su Lingyun knew Kang Xia and also knew that she was the general manager of her son's company, so she said with a smile, "It's nothing. I didn't expect that Xiu would ask Kang Xia to come and pick us up personally. This brat is too outrageous. You're usually busy enough." Kang Xia smiled and said, "It's none of boss's business. I came here on my own accord." Su Lingyun's eyes lit up. She was keenly aware that after Kang Xia secretly glanced at her son, a touch of tenderness flashed on her face. It was clearly the expression of a passionate girl seeing her lover. Su Lingyun grabbed Kang Xia's hand and said with a smile, "Kang Xia, don't speak for him. How you and Xiao get along is your business. In any case, I'll say it here. If he dares to bully you in the future, tell me and I'll deal with him." Kang Xia looked happy. It was the first time in history that Su Lingyun showed such intimacy to her. What made her happy was that Auntie Su's words seemed to have a deeper meaning. "Don't worry, Auntie. I'll definitely tell you if he bullies me. Also, if he dares to do something bad, I'll also secretly tell you, Auntie." Kang Xia was exceptionally smart and her small mouth was as if it was smeared with honey. Su Lingyun nodded with satisfaction. She looked at Su Quan with a smile and immediately said, "Quan Zi, why are you here?" "I'm working at the magnificent Tang Corporation now, Auntie Lingyun," said Su Quan with a smile. "I know, but I didn't expect that you would also come to pick us up," Su Lingyun said with a smile. "Let's go. I haven't eaten anything this morning, so I'm a bit hungry now." N. "Let's go, Auntie." Kang Xia quickly pulled Su Lingyun's arm and affectionately said. Southgate Town. When they returned, Kang Xia and Su Quan intended to leave, but Su Lingyun forcibly stopped them. Tang Yunda, who was in the villa's hall, spoke a few words with Kang Xia and Su Quan before calling Tan Xiu to a room on the second floor. "Xiu, now that I've met you in person, can you tell me about the specific situation in Guanyang and Fukang? Who are those people who appeared later?" Tang Yunda couldn't help but ask after taking a seat on the sofa while leaning on his crutches. "I'll check your injury first," Tan Xiu said. Tang Yunda pushed Tan Xiu's hand away and shook his head. "You don't need to worry about my injury. It's fine. It'll be completely healed in 8 to 10 days since it didn't touch my bones. Also, don't change the subject. I'll always feel a bit uneasy if you don't tell me." Tan Xiu let out a forced smile. He walked to the opposite side of Tang Yunda and sat down, saying, "Forget it. Since you must know, then I'll tell you. But you have to promise me one thing. Don't tell anyone else, not even my mom and grandpa." "All right," Tang Yunda replied without hesitation. "Those people are actually the Everlasting Feast Hall's people," Tan Xiu said. "What kind of existence is the Everlasting Feast Hall?" "It's a sect. It's like the martial arts sects in ancient times, where the powerhouses are as many as the clouds in the sky. They're also proficient in various cultural and technical aspects. In short, they're a group of very powerful people. Any one of them can cause a great sensation. What I'm most concerned about is your relationship with the Everlasting Feast Hall." Tang Yunda frowned. "I'm the Everlasting Feast Hall's boss," Tan Xiu said. Tang Yunda stared blankly for a moment before he rolled his eyes and smilingly scolded, "Don't talk nonsense with me. Since the Everlasting Feast Hall is a martial arts sect with as many powerhouses as the clouds in the sky, what virtue or ability do you have to become the Everlasting Feast Hall's boss? Seriously speaking, don't play dumb with me again." "I'm serious." Tan Xiu forced a smile and said, "I'm really the Everlasting Feast Hall's boss. As for how I became the Everlasting Feast Hall's boss, I won't explain it to you since it's too troublesome. Shortly put, if you meet the Everlasting Feast Hall's people in the future, just treat them as your own people. As for the information on all the Tang family's members, I'll give it to the Everlasting Feast Hall later." Tang Yunda frowned and asked, "Is the Everlasting Feast Hall reliable? Can we really trust them 100%? "I can't trust them 100%, but I can trust them 80% to 90%, Tan Xiu said. "That's why the Tang family's core can be concealed, and so can my most confidential matters. But the information on the Tang family's members must be given to them, lest they cause trouble in the future." "You're right. Tang Yunda nodded. That's right. There's something I want to talk to you about, Tan Xiu said. Since your body is fine now, shouldn't you be busy with some important matters? I heard that you were an elite in the army, a very powerful expert. What serious matters? Tang Yunda was confused. What serious matters can it be? Tan Xiu said. Making money, cultivating my own forces, and supporting my family. You can't just sit and eat without anything, waiting for me to take care of you when you're so young, right? Tang Yunda couldn't help laughing and said, can't I? Tang Xiu rolled his eyes at him and said, don't push your luck, alright? It's not a problem for me to take care of you when you're old, but you have to wait until you can't walk anymore. You're still young now. You're in your 40s or 50s, a good age. Make more money to support your family in the future. As for the talents you want to cultivate, I can help you. How will you help me? Asked Tang Yunda with a strange expression. You don't have any trustworthy subordinates, so it's useless for me to tell you now, Tan Xiu said with a faint smile. You should cultivate a group of trusted subordinates first, and I'll help you cultivate a group of talents in the future. As for what you want to do, it's up to you. Chapter 387. Forget it. Since you don't want to tell me, then I won't ask. Tang Yunda chuckled. Give me some time, I'll do something serious. By then, I'll make you a rich second generation in the truest sense. You want me to be a rich second generation for the rest of my life? Tan Xiu shook his head. Are you looking down on me? Tang Yunda stared at him and smilingly asked. It's not that I'm looking down on you, but how much money do you think you can make in a year? Tan Xiu chuckled. Do you want me to tell you how much the net profit of the magnificent Tang Corporation's God's Nectar is only sold in 2 batches? How much? Tang Yunda really didn't know. He only knew that the God's Nectar was now very famous. Kang Xia had personally delivered 10 boxes of it and he had tasted it. The taste was simply the best wine in the world. Tan Xiu stretched out 4 fingers and smilingly said, nearly 4 billion. I'm talking about the net profit. Hiss, Tang Yunda abruptly got up, but the pain in his leg made his body sway and he sat back on the sofa. Shock was written all over his thin face at this moment. He looked at Tan Xiu incredulously and exclaimed, you said that the God's Nectar has earned 4 billion yuan since it's been on the market? You're not joking with me, are you? If Kang Xia didn't lie to me, then I don't think I'm joking with you. Tan Xiu chuckled. My mom happened to be there when Kang Xia told me about it on the way back. Furthermore, the magnificent Tang Corporation's other products, the cosmetics, have also been put on the market. Kang Xia told me that the sales of these 2 cosmetics have doubled every day. In a short time, the magnificent Tang Corporation's profit has reached nearly 100 million yuan. Cough, cough, Tang Yunda choked and coughed a few times before he could catch his breath. He knew that his son's magnificent Tang Corporation was a good company. Although the development had been smooth and the God's Nectar was on the market, the sales would probably be good due to its excellent taste. But he never thought that the profits of the God's Nectar would be so big. The cosmetics also seemed to have great potential. As for himself, it seemed that no matter how hard he worked, he wouldn't be able to catch up with his son's magnificent Tang Corporation if he started working hard now, right? The shock inside Tang Yunda's heart slowly disappeared and was replaced with a bit of helplessness. He shook his head and forced a smile, saying, it's said that it's the era of relying on one's father, yet our family has reversed and become a family that relies on our son. Fine, 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 you won't be able to be a rich second generation. Then let's be rich for 1 generation and officials for 3 generations. Tan Xiu smiled and said, Dad, you know your son is strong now, right? Well, if there's nothing else, I'll go down first. Although the magnificent Tang Corporation has been handed over to Kang Xia to manage, there are still some things I need to understand clearly. That's right. Tang Yunda nodded and said, even if Kang Xia is trustworthy, she's still an outsider. Unless you can take her. Tan Xiu waved his hand and said, Stop. We'll talk about this later. Finished. Tan Xiu dashed out of the room. However, he didn't go downstairs directly, but went to the study room instead. When he saw the things inside, a satisfied look immediately appeared on his face. Apparently, his parents knew that he had arranged Mu Qingping's matter before, so they didn't let anyone casually touch the things in his study room. Therefore, the furnishings inside were the same as before. Break. Tan Xiu spent a few minutes to remove the several small arrays he had arranged before, and then stored all the valuables into his interspatial ring. Afterward, he went downstairs. Seeing his mother and Kang Xia busy in the kitchen, with the two nannies helping them, Tan Xiu smiled and walked towards Su Quan, who was sitting on the sofa in the living room and watching TV in boredom. Quan, how's brother Kai now? Tan Xiu walked over and sat down as he asked with a smile. He's still the same as always. Honest, loyal, and doesn't know how to be flexible. He's working as a security guard in the winery. But I heard that Director Dai appreciates him very much. He thinks that his character is reliable and has been promoted to the vice captain of the security team. We all know Brother Kai's character. Tan Xiu said with a smile, I'm afraid it'll be very difficult for him to change his character in the future. However, it's a good thing. I'll give him some training after some time. Let alone being the vice captain of the winery's security team, it won't be a problem for him to be the magnificent Tang Corporation's security team's captain in the future. You're going to set up a security team? Su Quan was surprised. I do have such a plan. Tan Xiu said with a smile. After all, a big company will need someone to look after it in the future. You're right. Su Quan nodded. It's a pity that my character isn't suitable to be a security guard, else I'll suffocate to death. Tan Xiu said with a smile, your character is quite suitable for sales and management. However, if you have the ability in the future, you mustn't abandon the magnificent Tang Corporation and establish your own company. The smile on Su Quan's face disappeared as he shook his head and said, Tan Xiu, we're brothers who grew up together with bare butts. You brought me to Star City and changed my fate. I won't do such a heartless thing. Besides, my current income and treatment have made me smile so much that I can't even close my mouth. As long as I climb higher in the future, I'm sure my income and treatment will also get higher and higher. If I don't give up my golden rice bowl and run out to fight for it, wouldn't that be stupid? Tan Xiu smiled and was about to speak when his eyes glanced at the LCD TV screen. Suddenly, the smile on his face froze. It was as though a bolt of lightning flashed inside his heart, causing him to jump up immediately. He dashed to the front of the LCD TV in a flash and stared at the advertisement on it. Diamond Burial, the classic of 100 reincarnations, the crystallization of the perfect love that has been created for generations. You deserve it. We'll meet on October 1st in Shanghai's Glory Auction. We're looking forward to your presence. On the TV screen, a sparkling and translucent diamond exuded a dreamy brilliance under the soft light. Around the diamond were 9 emerald leaves, forming a unique diamond ring style. What's wrong, Tan Xiu? Su Quan looked at Tan Xiu's unusual behavior and curiously asked. An excited look flashed in Tan Xiu's eyes as he tightly clenched his fists. His breathing became a lot faster at this moment, and his heartbeat was several times faster than usual. At first, when he saw this diamond ring, he only felt that it was a bit familiar. But in a flash, he suddenly realized that the pattern formed by the 9 emerald leaves on the ring was very similar to a plant, the demonic revival grass. That's right. This pattern is completely tailored according to the demonic revival grass. Find the person who made this diamond ring. He must have some news about the demonic revival grass. Tan Xiu suddenly turned his head to look at Su Quan and asked, what's the name of the auction that was just mentioned on the TV? Shanghai's Glory Auction, said Su Quan. Tan Xiu immediately ran to the kitchen and said aloud, Mom, I have an urgent matter to take care of in Shanghai, so I won't be eating at home. Kang Xia, I'll immediately come back to hold a celebration party for you after I've dealt with an important matter. But before I come back, you can organize a party first. With a spoon in her hand, Su Lingyun asked with a puzzled expression, Xiao, didn't we just come back from Shanghai? What are you going to do in Shanghai? There's a very important matter that must be dealt with in a timely manner, said Tan Xiao with all seriousness. Kid, even if it's very important, you still have to eat first, said Su Lingyun. Tan Xiao waved his hand as he walked outside and said, it's too late. I'll take my leave first. Kang Xia hesitated for a moment before she hurriedly chased after him. By the time she caught up with Tan Xiao had already sat in his Land Rover SUV that had been parked in Star City. Boss, you're going to Shanghai. When will you come back? If you don't attend the celebration party, even if our magnificent Tang Corporation holds a celebration party, there won't be much celebration. Many of our company's top executives are hoping to see you, said Kang Xia as she stood outside the window. Tan Xiao was silent for a moment before he shook his head and said, I don't know how long it will take, but I'll come back as soon as possible. Let's keep in touch by phone. All right. Kang Xia nodded silently with a touch of disappointment. As the car rushed out of South Gate Town and headed toward the airport, Tan Xiao dialed the captain of the private jet and told him that he was going back to Shanghai. Jingmen Island. The Everlasting Feast Hall's HQ, on the 7th floor of the exquisite pagoda on the seabed. A chilling aura filled the entire space on the 7th floor. On the ice bed that was emitting a sparkling blue light, Gu Yen's eyelashes fluttered twice. As she slowly opened her eyes, a special aura fluctuation spread out from her body. In a flash, an even colder aura spread in all directions. How long have you been unconscious this time? Gu Yan slowly sat up from the ice bed. Her slender jade-like fingers gently rubbed her brows. A bit of bitterness appeared on her devastatingly beautiful face that was enough to charm all men in the world. Whoosh, a ghostly figure instantly appeared on the 7th floor. Gu Yan slightly raised her head and saw Ji Qimei directly kneeling in front of the ice bed. She then said softly, Elder Ji, how many times have I told you? You really don't need to kneel to me every time. Actually, you followed me to Earth to find Master, so I've already regarded you as the closest person to me. A layer of mist appeared in Ji Qimei's eyes. An excited look appeared on her aged face as she looked up and said, Master, we found the Lord. Gu Yan stared blankly for a moment. Her white skirt fluttered in the air as she floated in front of Ji Qimei. An invisible force instantly pulled Ji Qimei up to maintain the same height as her. You're not lying to me. Ji Qimei shook her head and said, No. This subordinate is absolutely not lying. In fact, it was Xiaoxue who found the Lord. Moreover, the Lord has been here many times and accompanied you for a long time. Where is he? Asked Gu Yan, with a trembling voice. My master, where is he now? He should be in Shanghai, said Ji Qimei. A few days ago, the Lord asked me to go to Shanghai to work for him, so I met him there. Also. Chapter 388. And what? Gu Yan hurriedly asked. This subordinate doesn't know much about Venerable Lord's situation, said Ji Qimei. What I know is that Venerable Lord's cultivation has become very, very low. But what's strange is that Venerable Lord's strength is progressing very fast. From the first time I saw him a few months ago to the last time I saw him breaking through, his strength has soared by more than 100 times. Gu Yan smiled, but 2 lines of tears rolled down from the corner of her eyes. The yearning for thousands of years, the obsession that was like a devil, was able to support her until now. Being able to see her master again before her soul dissipated, even if it was just a glance, she felt that it was worth it. Take me to him. Gu Yan waved her arm, causing Ji Qimei's feet to step on the ground. Her figure had already appeared at the entrance of the 7th pagoda. However, just as she floated and appeared on the 1st floor of the exquisite pagoda, her black brows furrowed and a pained expression appeared on her face. Ji Qimei's speed was also very fast. The moment she appeared beside Gu Yan, her figure already blocking the entrance of the first floor. Elder Ji, what are you doing? Gu Yan's expression turned cold as she asked in a deep voice. Ji Qimei shook her head and said, Master, you can't leave the exquisite pagoda. I wouldn't have stopped you if you wanted to leave 10 years ago. But your body condition is getting worse and worse now, so you can't leave at all. Otherwise, I can guarantee that you would have fallen into a coma again before you could reach Demonic City and see Venerable Lord. Gu Yan's expression changed. She suddenly realized that she had forgotten such an important matter because she was too anxious. She was indeed eager to see her master and wanted to pour out her yearning for thousands of years. But she couldn't let herself fall into a coma again because of her impatience. Elder Ji, I'll immediately go out and contact Venerable Lord, Master, said Ji Qimei in a deep voice. He should be here soon. Gu Yan asked, I feel that my body's condition is pretty good after I woke up this time. I seem to be more energetic than the last time I woke up. According to my understanding of my own body, I should be able to hold on for about 3 days. Do you think Master, can he get there in 3 days? Ji Qimei replied without hesitation, we can definitely make it. Transportation is very advanced now. In order to see you earlier, the High Lord even borrowed a private plane. Once he hears the news of you waking up, he will immediately rush over on the private plane. Gu Yan slowly nodded. She reached out to pull Ji Qimei's arm and softly asked, Old Ji, tell me more about Master. Tell me everything you know from the beginning. I want to hear it all. Alright, I'll tell you everything. Ji Qimei nodded. However, I have to go out and contact the High Lord first. After that, we'll return to the 7th floor. I'll tell you everything I know. Yes, let's go. Gu Yanner nodded lightly. On the highway near Star City's South Gate town, Tan Xiu, who had just finished his phone call, suddenly received a call from Ji Qimei. Although he was eager to rush back to Demon City and figure out whether there was any special connection between the Diamond Ring and the demonic revival grass, he still picked up the call. What's the matter, Ji Qimei? My lord, Master woke up. She woke up. What did you say? Yenner, she woke up. Tan Xiu's body trembled. His hands quickly turned the steering wheel as he barely stopped the car on the roadside. Yes. Master wanted to see you immediately, but her physical condition is too poor to leave the exquisite pagoda, so. Ji Qimei forced a smile. I'm on the way to the airport now, Tan Xiu said without hesitation. I'll catch up immediately. Tell Yenner to stay in the exquisite pagoda to recuperate and wait for me. Understood. Ji Qimei respectfully replied. Tan Xiu hung up the phone. After starting the car, he called the captain of the private plane and told him not to apply for a flight to Demon City, but to Jingmen Island. Although the captain was very curious about Tan Xiu's change of mind, he still followed Tan Xiu's instructions. More than half an hour later, Tan Xiu drove to the airport. When he boarded the plane, the middle-aged captain forced a smile and said, Mr. Tang, I've contacted the leader of Star City Airport. Due to the time constraints, the flight route is tight. I'm afraid we have to wait for 2.5 hours before we can depart. Tan Xiu frowned and said with a sinking tone, can't you use your connections? The middle-aged captain forced a smile and said, we don't have any connections in Star City. Tan Xiu took out his mobile and dialed Long Hanwen's number. After the other party picked up, he asked, Uncle Long, there's something I want to ask you. Do you have any connections in Star City Airport? I do have some connections. What do you want to do? Long Hanwen's voice came out of the phone. I borrowed a private plane from a friend and it's parked at Star City Airport. I'm in a hurry to go to Jingmen Island, but there's a problem with the flight route. I need to wait for 2.5 hours before I can depart. So, if Uncle Long has any connections, how about you help me contact them? Alright, wait for my call, said Long Hanwen. A few minutes later, Long Hanwen's call came. After Tan Xiu picked it up, he forced a smile and said, Tan Xiu, I don't have any other way. My old friend told me that the current flight route has long been fixed. If I arbitrarily change it, it will affect 7 to 8 passenger planes that will be delayed. How about you wait a bit more? I understand, Uncle Long. My matter is a bit urgent. I'll think of another way. Tan Xiu said. All right. Long Hanwen said with regret. Tan Xiu took the phone and was silent for a moment. Suddenly, he thought of someone and immediately dialed her number. I say, Nephew Gu, you rarely take the initiative to call me, your aunt. What's wrong with you today? Why did you suddenly call me? Tang Min's voice came out of the phone. Tan Xiu hurriedly said, Auntie, do you have any way to influence Star City Airport with your power or connections? I have an urgent matter. Tang Min was silent for 2 seconds before she said with all seriousness, I have a way if it's a very serious matter. Then, can you help me contact the model of my private plane? I'll let the captain tell you that I need to hurry to fly from Star City Airport to Jingmen Island, said Tan Xiu. All right. Tang Min and the middle-aged captain talked on the phone. Soon after, the middle-aged captain received a call from a leader with real power at the airport. The other party said, Mr. Wang, you're really amazing. In this short period of time, I have received several calls. The one who just called me is a big shot in the imperial capital. Forget it, forget it. I've already arranged some people to adjust the time. You can take off in half an hour at most. Is that all right? The middle-aged captain glanced at Tan Xiu and was secretly shocked. Although he knew that Tan Xiu had made several calls and that the last one was his aunt, he didn't expect that Tan Xiu's aunt had such great power that even the senior leaders of Star City Airport had no choice but to adjust the flight route. Mr. Tang, within half an hour? The middle-aged captain covered the phone and whispered to Tan Xiu. Sure. Tan Xiu nodded. The middle-aged captain then said to the phone, Thank you, leader. No problem. Imperial capital, inside a government building. Tang Min hung up the phone. A thoughtful look flashed in her eyes. She was somewhat curious about why Tan Xiu was in such a hurry to rush to Jingmen Island. Although she didn't have much contact with her nephew, she knew that Tang Xiu was a steady young man through the things he had done. No matter what he did, he would always be able to think it through. 2.5 hours. Half an hour. This time difference of 2 hours was enough to make him unable to sit still, and he even needed his help. He must have encountered something extremely important. Immediately, Tang Min grabbed the phone on the desk and dialed a number. Dad, Tan Xiu just called me and asked me to help him. Inside the Tang family's ancestral residence in the imperial capital, Tang Guisheng was holding a pen and paper, writing and drawing. He was also thinking about something. When he received his daughter's call and heard what she said, his complexion turned solemn. After a moment of silence, he slowly said, I got it. I'll contact him myself. After hanging up the phone, Tang Guisheng dialed Tan Xiu's number. Xiu, I just got the news that you're going to Jingmen Island from Star City. Did something big happen? If something happened, you must tell Grandpa. Even if I have to risk my old life, I'll solve it for you. Tang Guisheng immediately spoke with concern so that he wouldn't arouse Tan Xiu's rejection. Grandpa, something big indeed happened. But the Tang family can't help me in this matter, said Tan Xiu. Besides, I don't need anyone's help. The reason why I'm in such a hurry to Jingmen Island is because I want to see someone very important to me. Tang Guisheng suddenly understood. He felt slightly relieved and said, It's good that there's no danger. Xiu, I know you're very powerful. But you must remember that even if you're powerful, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. If something happens, you must tell Grandpa. Grandpa's body is strong and healthy now. I can help you. I know, Grandpa, said Tan Xiu. Tang Guisheng hesitated for a moment before asking, "Can you tell Grandpa that the person you're going to Jingmen Island to see is?" Tan Xiu was silent for a moment before he slowly said, "My apprentice." Tang Guisheng's complexion slightly changed as he said in a deep voice, "I know. I won't ask anything else. Just pay attention to your safety." "All right." After hanging up the phone, Tang Guisheng slightly frowned. He knew a lot about Tan Xiu. He also knew that Tan Xiu had 4 apprentices. One of them was Qin Zhizhong, and the other was the little girl, Gu Yin. In addition, there was another one in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. As for the other one, he had sent people to inquire about it, but they didn't get any news at all. "I haven't asked for monthly votes for several days. The monthly votes have been accumulating and sliding every day. I'm weekly asking for monthly votes. Monthly votes can be exchanged for a sudden burst _. Chapter 389. The bright sun shone on the earth as the warm breeze mixed with the faint fishy smell of seawater. Outside the Everlasting Feast Hall's HQ on Jingmen Island, a black sedan was approaching at lightning speed. Screech, the black sedan was tens of meters away from the gate's barricade when it suddenly braked and came to a complete stop. "Lift the barricade." The moment the middle-aged man in the driver's seat stepped out of the driver's door, he shouted at the 4 big men who had a drastic change in expression. After the 4 big men saw the man in the driver's seat, they immediately showed a respectful expression. One of them immediately lifted the barricade, while the middle-aged man returned to the driver's seat. The moment the door was closed, he stepped on the accelerator to the minimum, and the car was like an arrow leaving the bowstring as it instantly rushed inside. What happened to Instructor Liu? Why is he in such a hurry? Did something big happen? I didn't hear about any task from the top. I think I just saw our boss in the back seat. Boss? Our new boss? Yes. Amidst the discussion of the 4 big men, the black sedan quickly rushed into the Everlasting Feast Hall's parking lot. The moment Tan Xiu opened the door, he saw Gu Xiaoxue dashing over. "Grand Master." Gu Xiaoxue's eyes were slightly red as she quickly dashed to the front of Tan Xiu. Behind her were a man and a woman. The man was dressed in a white robe and had soft, shoulder-length hair. He looked to be about 27 or 28 years old, while the woman was dressed in black casual clothes and had a black cloak draped over her shoulders. She also wore a black mask on her face. "Boss. I'm light." "Boss. I'm dark." The young man and woman cupped their fists and spoke respectfully. Tan Xiu raised his brows and patted Gu Xiaoxue's shoulder. While rushing toward the beach, he asked, "What's going on with these 2? "Light and dark are the geniuses trained by Master, boss. They are the best among thousands of people," said Gu Xiaoxue. Just like me, they had already started cultivating as soon as they stepped onto the path of cultivation. However, their identities are so special that only a few people in the Everlasting Feast Hall know of their existence. However, their names are on the list I gave you earlier. Tan Xiu thought about it and remembered that he had seen the words, light, and dark, before, but he didn't expect them to have special identities. To be able to stand out from thousands of people means that your aptitude is not bad. If you perform well, I will teach you stronger cultivation methods and more powerful immortal techniques in the future. Loyalists, if you don't die prematurely, I can give you even greater opportunities. Light and dark looked at each other, and then their eyes burst with surprise. "We understand." Tan Xiu nodded and sprinted to the shoreline as fast as he could. He didn't even take the boat. With the use of the Imperial Wind technique, his feet seemed to be stepping on the surface of the sea. As the layers of ripples spread, he continued to advance into the sea. Wind Riding Spell. Gu Xiaoxue, light, and dark looked at each other with a surprised look on their faces. Immediately after, the 3 of them also quickly used the Wind Riding Spell and followed behind Tan Xiu like a shadow, quickly rushing toward the sea ahead. Their speed was much faster than Tan Xiu's. In just a few breaths, they had already maintained a balance with Tan Xiu. Gu Xiaoxue waved her arms and the seawater was split into two. As they quickly sprinted to the front of the exquisite pagoda, Ji Qimei, who had been waiting for a long time, personally opened the pagoda's door. "My lord, master is waiting for you on the 7th floor." "Okay." Tan Xiu complied and instantly rushed to the upper floor. Gu Yan, light, and dark were stopped by Ji Qimei, who silently shook her head. "Elder Ji, master must be very happy." Gu Xiaoxue said softly. Ji Qimei's old face looked a bit gratified as she nodded and sighed. "Of course she'll be happy. Master has been searching for my lord. In short, she has suffered a lot for my lord. I only hope that my lord can understand her feelings." On the 7th floor of the exquisite pagoda, Gu Yan, clad in a white dress, was sitting cross-legged on the ice bed. Her fingers were forming strange seals as a chill surged from her body. At this moment, the temperature on the 7th floor was much lower than when she was unconscious. Despite having a great improvement in his cultivation, Tan Xiu still felt the chill invading his body at this moment. The moment Tan Xiu stepped into the 7th floor, his eyes were locked on the breathtakingly beautiful face that was as pale as paper. His footsteps instantly halted. His heartbeat accelerated. The warmth that came from his soul was like a gurgling spring, passing this warmth to his limbs and 5 bones. It was as if the chill no longer had the slightest effect on him. Gu Yan's eyelashes fluttered as her bright eyes opened. She was slightly startled, but a moment later, her eyes were filled with sparkling tears. Her tender body floated up like a fairy dancing in the air, slowly coming to the front of Tan Xiu. Tan Xiu's lips wriggled, his voice a bit hoarse. The sparkling tears in Gu Yan's eyes were finally like a broken sea. Big drops of pearls fell from her eyes, sliding down her face and wetting her clothes as she threw herself into Tan Xiu's arms. "Master!" Her cries were like a cuckoo crying blood, like a swallow returning to its bowels. Thousands of years of obsession turned into a trembling voice, unable to express her longing. Tan Xiu hugged Gu Yan's thin and cold body. There wasn't the slightest evil thought in his heart. His heart was filled with warmth and love, guilt, and longing. Gently lifting his hand, he stroked Gu Yan's smooth black hair and murmured, "It's good that you've woken up. Master can see you again. Another part of my lifelong wish has come true. Good child. You're my good child." Gu Yan's delicate body turned stiff, and her whimpering instantly subsided. She pulled away from Tan Xiu and reached out to hold Tan Xiu's face, shaking her head with tears in her eyes. Tan Xiu was keenly aware of Gu Yan's abnormality. He quickly grabbed her hand and asked with concern, "What's wrong, Yan-er? Are you feeling unwell again?" Gu Yan shook her head and took a deep breath. Her eyes were full of deep affection as she shook her head and said, "Master, Yan-er is very well now. I'm really very well now. To be able to see Master again, even if I have to die now, Yan-er would be willing." Yan has never been afraid of hardships in order to find Master for thousands of years. "I'm already satisfied as long as I can see Master again." Tan Xiu pulled her hand and softly said, "Don't worry, Yan-er. You've seen Master. He's still alive and not dead. Nothing will happen to Master again in the future, and I won't abandon you again." Gu Yan nodded repeatedly. Although she couldn't stop her tears from flowing, there was a bright smile on her beautiful and pale face. The smile was pure and full of satisfaction. Tan Xiu's expression suddenly turned serious. He took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, Master promises you that I'll find the chrono crystal and the demonic revival grass no matter what price I have to pay in the future to heal your injury. Trust me." The person Gu relied on and trusted the most in her life was Tan Xiu. Upon hearing Tan Xiu's words, she nodded without hesitation and said, believes in Master." Tan Xiu nodded and said, "Also, although Master has returned to earth and my cultivation has turned into nothingness, believe me, I'll bring you back to the immortal world sooner or later. I'll make Shade Demon Zhu Wushou pay a painful price for hurting you. You're my disciple, and only I can hit, scold, and punish you. No one else can. Gu Yan quickly shook her head and bitterly said, I don't want you to take revenge for me, master. As long as you're safe and sound and Yan can happily follow you in the future, Yan will be satisfied. Tan Xiu seriously said, you'll be happily following me in the future, but Shade Demon Zhu Wushou must die, and he can't die so easily. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. Now that we, master and disciple, have met again, let master take a good look at you. Gu Yan once again revealed a bright smile and nodded. Master, your appearance has changed. Although you still have your shadow, this is the real you, right? Tan Xiu nodded and sighed. That's right. Back then, a wisp of Master's divine sense accidentally traveled through space and entered the body of Tan Xiu, who shares the same name and surname. I thought that I could only find my way back if I could break through the shackles of immortal world and become a deity. I didn't expect that they would return to Earth again. On the other hand, Yan, although you look a few years older than when you disappeared, your appearance hasn't changed. You're still so beautiful, and you're still Master's favorite disciple. Gu Yan smiled and said, Master, it turns out that you were a wisp of divine sense that came to the immortal world. No wonder I had to go through so many hardships to peep at some clues from the heavenly mystery. Fortunately, in my last gamble, I finally made the right bet. Tan Xiu sighed and said, Yan, Master knows that you must have suffered a lot in the past thousands of years. In fact, you shouldn't have wasted so many years for me. What Master hopes for is that you can live happily and become an immortal or a deity in the future. Your behavior in coming to Earth this time has filled Master's heart with guilt. Gu Yan shook her head and smilingly said, You're the only source of my happiness, Master. I'm actually very regretful that I shouldn't have gone to that hopeless situation to find. Tan Xiu gently shook his head and interrupted Gu Yan's words, saying, Yan, if I were still in the immortal world now, I would think that you really shouldn't have gone there. But now I feel that you're really right to go there. All the Supremes in the entire immortal world know that you're my favorite disciple. I was ambushed by them and almost died. If you were still by my side at that time, I'm afraid you wouldn't have a good ending either. Gu Yan fell into silence. She knew that what Tan Xiu said made sense. Had she been by her master's side at that time, she would have probably died at that time. If she were really killed by them at that time, there would probably be no chance for them to reunite at this moment. Sorry, the scheduled update failed. Here's the next chapter. Chapter 390. Master and disciple reunited, confiding in each other. Although the 7th floor of the Linglong Treasure Pagoda was cold, their hearts were filled with warmth. As time passed, the two chatted more and more. Finally, Gu Yan seemed to recall something as she jumped up and said with a charming smile, Master, Yan wants to give you a gift. Although I couldn't find the thing I wanted to find for you in the past, I found something better. I believe that Master will definitely like it. What is it? Tan Xiu asked in surprise. Gu Yan's toes lightly touched the ground, and her white skirt fluttered like a fairy. Then, a soft green light appeared in her hand out of thin air, and in the center of the green light was a dark green seed. That's right. It was a seed, exuding a strong vitality. Tang Xiu's brows deeply furrowed as he observed the seed inside the green light. But he found that he couldn't find the slightest information about this seed even after searching the stored knowledge in his mind. He was sure that he had never seen a seed with this shape before. Yan, this is? Tan Xiu asked curiously. Gu Yan smiled, Master, do you know what the first 3 items of the immortal world's 10 great divine objects are? Tan Xiu said, I do know. The first is the heart of the realm, the second is the heavenly path universe tree, and the third is the divine will of samsara. Gu Yan smiled, that's right, the heart of the realm is the core of the immortal world, located in the most mysterious illusory world. A few eras ago, an almighty returned from the divine world and borrowed the energy of the heart of the realm to expand the immortal world by several million times. The divine will of samsara is the deepest reincarnation law of the heavenly Tao. Whoever can control it can control the path of reincarnation for billions of lives, and use the karma of reincarnation to step into the divine world. Unfortunately, this is only a legend. No one has ever obtained the divine wheel of samsara. And this seed is the only crystallization of the heavenly path universe tree in this era, the only seed born since the immortal world was re-established. If this seed was planted in a person's heart, that person would be able to control the second path to the God realm. Because before the heavenly path universe tree was cut down, it was the path to the God realm. Tan Xiu looked at the seed in horror. His eyes moved with difficulty to Gu Yenner's bright smile, and he asked in shock, "Yenner, where did you get this thing?" A ruthless glint flashed in Gu Yenner's eyes. She laughed and said, "Master, in the 3600th year after you were rumored to have been killed, the 17 most powerful supremes in the immortal world each contributed a drop of their natal blood essence in order to obtain a new path to heaven. After the celestial mystery heavenly emperor and his 9 disciples spent 360 years of painstaking deduction, they finally found a trace of heaven's secret. Afterward, the 17 most powerful supremes in the immortal world found the heavenly path universe tree's seed according to the place that the celestial mystery heavenly emperor had deduced, which was the Luoting land in the emerald radish immortal domain. The celestial mystery heavenly emperor was able to divine that trace of heaven's secret, but he couldn't divine people's hearts. The 17 most powerful supremes in the immortal world, including him, fought with each other, and Supreme Bei Hua was killed. But before he died, he used the blood prohibition divine technique to forcibly tear the space and pass this seed to me. Tan Xiu's expression slightly changed. Supreme Bei Hua died? And he even knows the blood prohibition divine technique? This is the most powerful forbidden technique of the master of the demon world's sinless demon emperor, the one who has become a demon god and ascended to the god world. Master, Supreme Bei Hua was originally from the demon world, but his soul was changed and he was forcibly sent to the immortal world, said Gu Yenner. After a long period of cultivation, he finally became a supreme in the immortal world. After he passed me this seed, he left me a message. What message? Asked Tan Xiu. Gu Yenner said, he said, the mad demon once helped me, and now I return the favor. A sword and a meal, to put an end to the past. Tan Xiu's heart trembled, and he slowly closed his eyes. Once, he accidentally passed through a certain desperate situation in the immortal world and encountered Supreme Bei Hua, who was unable to escape. Because he didn't want to see an expert's soul fly away and scatter, he helped. With a sword, he cut off the soul-devouring grass in the desperate situation and rescued the dying Supreme Bei Hua, and then gave him a healing panacea to help him restore his vitality. Later, when he returned to the place where he cultivated, Supreme Bei Hua visited him several times in an attempt to return the favor, but because he was in seclusion, he didn't meet him. He didn't expect that his best friend of thousands of years would betray him because of benefits, and Supreme Bei Hua, who had only saved his life once, would unexpectedly not forget to repay him for saving his life when he was facing a desperate situation where his soul would fly away and scatter. What is an immortal? What is a demon? Tan Xiu suddenly smiled. He looked at Gu Yenner and said with a smile, Yenner, you guessed it? Gu Yenner chuckled and said, Master, I guessed it. In fact, before Supreme Bei Hua passed on this seed to me, I had already guessed it. Because in order to become stronger in the immortal world, in order to find the whereabouts of Master, I have experienced countless life and death situations. 2 of them, it was Supreme Bei Hua who saved me. The first time, he saved me and said he wanted to take me as his disciple, but I refused. The second time, he saved me and said he wanted me to apologize in front of your grave. Tan Xiu nodded and sighed. This Supreme Bei Hua is really a sentimental supreme of the immortal world. When I return to the immortal world in the future, I will definitely take care of his descendants. Gu Yenner said with a smile, Master, quickly plant this seed of the heavenly path universe tree in your heart. Only with the nourishment of your heart's blood essence can it take root and germinate, and grow strong and strong. I'm looking forward to the day when Master can plant a new heavenly path universe tree in your heart, one that can surpass the peak of the God realm. Tan Xiu shot a deep look at Gu Yen'er. He didn't reach out to take it, but was silent for a moment before he slowly asked, Yen'er, why don't you plant this seed of the heavenly path universe tree? Even if you plant it, Master can still ascend to the immortal world with your help in the future. Gu Yen'er shook her head and said, Master, only you deserve to have this seed. You're the only one I have. Whoever wants to have this seed is blasphemy against my feelings for Master, even myself. Tan Xiu's heart was shaken. He silently took the seed and his star force instantly fused into his palm. He then pulled the seed of the heavenly path universe tree into his heart. The moment his heart split open, the seed fused with it. Then, the crack in his heart slowly healed under the nourishment of the star force. Boom! A domineering aura full of vitality exploded inside Tan Xiu's heart. Before Tan Xiu could react, a space expanded inside Tan Xiu's heart. Although this space was only a few square meters in size, Tan Xiu's blood essence from his heart poured into this space. As for the seed that was glowing with a green light, it floated quietly above the blood essence. My heart see. I actually have a heart see. Tan Xiu suddenly felt that his life aura had skyrocketed and his blood essence had increased by hundreds of times. His entire body's state had become stronger than ever. Even after becoming a supreme in the immortal world, he had never felt this kind of energetic feeling, as though his soul had been sublimated. With a smile on her face, Gu Yen'er looked at Tan Xiu's surging aura and softly said, Congratulations, Yen'er, Master. You're the only person I worship and the only one I can rely on. Yen'er will have to rely on you in the future, Master. Don't worry. Tan Xiu smilingly said. I'll definitely try my best to heal your injury and make you happy and stay by my side. Even if you find your Mr. Right in the future, I won't let you go far away with him. I want to watch over you and love you dearly. I can't let anything happen to you again. Mr. Right? The smile on Gu Yen'er's face instantly froze. At this moment, her heart felt as though it had been cut by a knife. It hurt. Ever since she grew up and knew how to love, the person closest to her was also the person she loved the most. The obsession in her heart had supported her for thousands of years to crazily cultivate, improve her strength, and search for her master's whereabouts. That's right. It was because of the familial love. And the infatuation of love. If others asked her to find her Mr. Right, she could ignore it and ignore it. But not her master, because she had already given her heart to him. He couldn't push himself away. Tan Xiu noticed the strange expression on Gu Yen'er's face and hurriedly asked with concern, Yen'er, are you not feeling well? Quickly sit on the ice bed. Don't worry, when you're awake, Master won't take a step away. I'll be here with you. Gu Yen'er took a deep breath. She used to be infatuated with her master, but she could only secretly love him in her heart and didn't dare to show it in the slightest. But now, she had experienced too much. She didn't even care about life and death. So, at this moment, she became very brave. Master, unless Yen'er stays unmarried for the rest of her life, the only person Yen'er has to marry is you, Master. Tan Xiu felt as though he had been struck by lightning. His body instantly became extremely stiff. He looked at Gu Yen'er in disbelief. It was as if he suddenly felt that his precious disciple in front of him had become so unfamiliar. This child, is she joking? Tan Xiu thought in his heart. But looking at Gu Yen'er's serious expression, he felt that it didn't seem like a joke. For a moment, even though he had lived for thousands of years, he was at a loss. Gu Yen'er looked at Tan Xiu's appearance and felt a little sad in her heart. But at the same time, she was also a little excited. Because she finally said what she had hidden in her heart for thousands of years and wanted to say the most. In that complicated mood, Gu Yen'er gently sat next to Tan Xiu. She reached out and held Tan Xiu's arm. She gently leaned her head on Tan Xiu's shoulder and said softly, Master, you are the closest person to Yen'er. I will follow you for the rest of my life. Unless you kill me with your own hands, you will never be able to get rid of me. Tan Xiu smiled bitterly and said, You child, don't say silly things anymore. Master once married. Chapter 391. Gu Yan raised her head and looked at Tan Xiu's frozen expression. She sighed inwardly and said, Master, you married that woman. Even if you didn't have that love tribulation, I would have told you my feelings sooner or later. In my opinion, no woman in this world can have a master all by herself. Even if master has countless wives, as long as you have Yen'er in your heart, Yen'er will be satisfied. She suddenly sat up straight. She turned to the opposite side of Tan Xiu and squatted in front of Tan Xiu. She raised her small face and said, Master, if you like that woman, I'll let you have her no matter what the price is. Even if you want to have a harem of 3,000 beauties and 30,000 immortal concubines, I can help you gather them. Master is Yen'er's only one. Yen will do her best to help you get whatever you want. Tan Xiu's heart trembled. He looked at Gu Yen'er in disbelief. Apart from a bitter smile, he couldn't find any words to express his feelings. What the hell? After a long while, Tan Xiu suddenly thought of Han Qinggu. His mind raced and he asked, Yen'er, can you tell me something? Gu Yen'er smiled and said, What do you want to know, Master? As long as Yen knows, she'll definitely tell you everything. Tan Xiu hesitated for a moment before he gritted his teeth and asked, How is she? Shui Qingcheng. Gu Yen'er frowned slightly and asked. Yeah. Tan Xiu nodded. Rumor has it that after you were persecuted by Great Emperor Danqing and Jiuyaoqin demon, she was also killed by them, said Gu Yen'er. I'm not 100% sure whether she's alive or dead now. Even though I've secretly investigated her for thousands of years, yet I've never been able to find a single trace of her. It's as if she's vanished into thin air from the immortal dimension. A murderous look flashed across Tan Xiu's eyes as he said, You mean, she might really have died in the hands of Great Emperor Danqing and Jiuyaoqin demon? It's indeed very likely. Gu Yan nodded. However, my main purpose is to find your whereabouts, and investigating her is only to avenge you. So, I can't be too sure. At this moment, Tan Xiu finally understood. He understood that the woman he had once been infatuated with was most likely dead. The Han Qinggu on Earth was probably her reincarnation. However, he still had some doubts. How could she have been reincarnated on Earth so coincidentally? Gu Yen'er's expression suddenly changed. She said, Master, I once bewitched the shade demon Zhu Wushou and learned something from his most beloved disciple. What is it? Tan Xiu asked. Gu Yen'er said, Zhu Wushou's disciple said that Gu Yen'er is actually his senior sister and also the shade demon Zhu Wushou's eldest disciple. What did you say? Tan Xiu suddenly stood up, his eyes bursting with disbelief. Shade demon Zhu Wushou's disciple. Shui Qingcheng actually, Gu Yen'er said, Master, I believe that Zhu Wushou's disciple shouldn't have lied to me. But what I don't understand is why Shade Demon Zhu Wushou sent his eldest disciple to infiltrate the Rosefinch holy sect. Tan Xiu didn't answer Gu Yen'er's words. He took a deep breath and finally understood why Shui Qingcheng was so abnormal during the days he spent with her. In the past, he didn't understand. Now that he thought about it carefully, he finally understood some things. Tan Xiu put away all his thoughts and looked at Gu Yen'er and said, Yen'er, let's not talk about this topic anymore. If I get that seed, my cultivation speed will definitely be faster in the future. Only by making myself stronger can I protect the people I care about and return to the immortal world to find those people I still care about and collect some debts from them with interest. Gu Yen'er said softly, Master, I'm afraid Yen'er can't help you. Tan Xiu shook his head and said, you're wrong. You can help me, and you can even be my biggest helper. Gu Yan hesitated and said, but I really don't have much time left, shut up. Tan Xiu angrily rebuked, who said you don't have much time left? Before, you kept saying that you trust Master. Do you really think that Master can't find the chrono crystal and the demonic revival grass? Gu Yan looked a bit flustered. She quickly shook her head and said, this disciple is wrong. I believe Master can do it. Tan Xiu looked at Gu Yan's panic-stricken appearance and felt a sense of pity in his heart. He reached out to pull her up and gently let her sit beside him. Just like when she was a child, he reached out and hugged her in his arms and said softly, Yan, it's Master's fault. Master shouldn't have gotten angry. But you have to believe in Master. No matter how difficult it is, no matter what price I have to pay, Master must find these two things and completely remove the damage caused by the Twilight Nightmare. Gu Yan used Tan Xiu's chest as a pillow and gently nodded. Tan Xiu suddenly smiled and said, Yan, your current cultivation is much stronger than Master's. Tell Master, what stage have you reached now? I'm just a step away from the supremacy stage, replied Gu Yan, with a chuckle. Amazing. Tan Xiu was surprised. Your cultivation speed is even faster than Master's when I was in the past. It's all thanks to Master who laid a solid foundation for me, said Gu Yan, with a joyful expression. Later, I encountered some fortuitous encounters. However, the power I can exert now is probably only that of an ordinary immortal. Tan Xiu chuckled and said, this is Earth, and you're already the most powerful here. You can even easily destroy this planet if you want to. I don't want to. Gu Yan, laughed. This is Master's hometown, and it's also Yan-er's home. In any case, wherever Master goes, Yan-er will be there too. Tan Xiu nodded and said, Yan-er, I'm going to take the exquisite pagoda away from here. It's because I found an island in the Pacific Ocean that's very similar to the 9 Dragons Spitting Pearl secret domain we used to live on. I've bought the island and personally designed the reconstruction blueprints. A large number of construction workers are now renovating it. Once the renovation is completed, it will become a treasured land with good feng shui. It will be our base camp and our home in the future. Then, can Yan-er plant the 7-colored immortal grasses there when she wakes up? Gu Yan-er was pleasantly surprised. There are still many seeds of the 7-colored immortal grasses in Yan-er's interspatial ring. Sure, replied Tan Xiu with a smile. The smile on Gu Yan-er's face turned brighter. Suddenly, she recalled something and said, Master, your cultivation is not high now, so you need to eat, right? Are you hungry? Yan wants to eat something. Can you accompany Yan-er to a restaurant to have some food? Tan Xiu quickly said, Yan-er, it's not suitable for you to leave the exquisite pagoda now. If you want to eat something, I'll call someone to send it over. This Master will accompany you to eat here. Gu Yan-er grabbed Tan Xiu's arm with both hands, shaking it and acting like a spoiled child. Master, please agree. Sienna wakes up here every time. I really want to go out and see the outside world. Besides, we're just going to have a meal, and the time is very short. I heard from Elder Ji that you found the precious herbs for me to concoct the sense-condensing pellet and asked Elder Ji to refine it for me. My spirit is very good now. I can stay awake for 2 or 3 days even if I go out for a meal. Tan Xiu hesitated. He didn't have the heart to refuse Gu Yan-er's request. After a while, he slowly nodded and said, how about this? I'll go inform Xiaoxue and ask her to prepare a meal in the restaurant. We'll go out when the meal is almost ready. The less time you spend outside, the less it will affect you. Thank you, Master. Gu Yan said with a pleasantly surprised expression. Tan Xiu got up and came to the exquisite pagoda's first floor at his fastest speed. Looking at the 4 pairs of eyes, Tan Xiu said, Xiaoxue, go prepare some food. Yen, and I will go to the restaurant to have a meal. Venerable Lord, Master, Ji Qimei quickly said. Tan Xiu raised his hand to interrupt her and said, Ji Qimei, I understand what you're thinking. I also have the same concerns. But she really wants to go out and see the outside world, so I'll promise him this time. A meal won't be long, and it's much better than making her stay in the exquisite pagoda and suffocate. I understand your meaning, Venerable Lord. Ji Qimei nodded. Xiaoxue, go arrange it immediately. Understood. Upon hearing that her master could leave the exquisite pagoda for a while, Xiaoxue immediately shouted with excitement. Immediately after, her figure turned into a phantom and disappeared in front of the pagoda's entrance in an instant. Half an hour later. When Gu Xiaoxue sent a message saying that the meal was ready, Tan Xiu came to the exquisite pagoda's first floor with Gu Yen, Greetings, Master. Light and Dark's eyes were filled with excitement as they knelt in front of Gu Yen, Gu Yen, held Tan Xiu's arm with one hand and gently lifted the other. A gentle force swept over the two and gently lifted them up. You two don't need to be so polite. We haven't seen each other for several years, and you've grown up a lot. Wait until I'm done eating with Master, then you can come here and kowtow to me. Ji Qimei's expression moved and said in a deep voice, What are you still standing there for? Hurry up and thank your master. Master? Light and Dark exchanged glances. Suddenly, they seemed to realize something and wanted to kneel again with excitement. However, recalling Gu Yen's words, they restrained themselves and respectfully complied before retreating to the side. At this moment, Gu Yen no longer looked at anyone else. There was no one else in her eyes except her master. Just like that, she held Tan Xiu's arm and followed Tan Xiu step by step to leave the exquisite pagoda and came to the sea outside. In just a few breaths, she came to the shore with a charming smile on her face with Tan Xiu. Master, this everlasting feast hall established by Yen, is not bad. At least, these people from the everlasting feast hall found you. Tan Xiu nodded and smilingly said, They're all very good. In fact, you also gave Master a good lesson. What lesson? Asked Gu Yen, curiously. Chapter 392. As Tan Xiu and Gu Yen strolled toward the main floor of the restaurant, a faint smile appeared on his handsome face as he said, The more people there are, the more firewood there is, the higher the fire. I used to only pursue my own strength and neglected my subordinates, which led to the disunity of the people and the disunity of my forces. Finally, when I was about to ascend to godhood, I encountered the betrayal of my beloved and close friends, who tried to kill me. Gu Yen said, Master, do you mean that it's very important to train a large number of loyal subordinates? But there's only one reason why I've trained so many people, and that's to find you. Tan Xiu looked at her lovingly and said, That's right, it's to train my subordinates. If I had many powerful and loyal subordinates to protect me at that time, I would have had many of them to help me stall them even if they wanted to launch an attack at the most critical moment of my tribulation. As long as I succeed in crossing the tribulation, I can become a godly monarch in the immortal world and obtain the qualification to enter the gate of eternal life. But before I step through the gate, just the divine power that descends from the God world will make my strength soar. At that time, I can easily wipe out those traitors. Gu Yen nodded thoughtfully and said, I understand what you said, Master. Many of my subordinates have died for me over the past thousands of years, at least tens of thousands of them. Many times, it was them who helped me stall the enemies and kept me alive. Tan Xiu nodded and said, There are betrayals and loyalty in this world. We only need to sharpen our eyes. Time will reveal a person's heart, and we'll naturally know who can be trained with all our strength and who needs to give up early. I understand, Master. Gu Yen smiled and suddenly said, Let's not talk about such heavy topics, Master. You see, I've come out and can finally see the outside world, so we should be happy. Tan Xiu smiled faintly, but a trace of heartache flashed in his eyes. His eyes were like torches. How could he not see that his precious disciple was suffering from the invasion of the time nightmare at this moment, enduring that knife-like pain? Tan Xiao was smiling, but in his heart, he had already developed a crazed desire to kill Shade Demon Zhu Wushou. In fact, at this moment, he had already changed his mind. In the future, when he could deal with Zhu Wushou, he definitely couldn't let him die so easily. He had to extract his soul and temper him for 1,000,000 years, making him suffer the cruelest torture for 1,000,000 years. Yan you're right. We should be happy. Hee. The Everlasting Feast Hall had a large number of core experts, with more than 100 of them staying at their headquarters in Jingmen Island. However, when the members of a patrol team passed by, their gazes fell on two figures in the distance. Their pupils shrank, and as their expressions changed, ecstasy took over their hearts. Xiao! 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 Four figures flickered lightning fast and dashed toward Tan Xiao and Gu Yan'er as they knelt and kowtowed at the same time. Subordinates greet the two bosses. Their voices were trembling, and their eyes were sparkling. Obviously, it wasn't because of Tan Xiao, but because of Gu Yan'er. Bai Yi, Bai Peng, Song Wu, Hua Yang, the four of you still like to gather together. We haven't seen each other for more than a decade, right? Xiao Xue has told me about you many times. Gu Yan'er smiled, but her hands gently held Tan Xiao's arm. The four people felt warm inside. They didn't expect that after so many years, their boss would still remember their names and even recognize them at a glance. Furthermore, after so many years, their boss was still so young and beautiful. She was still wearing her fluttering white dress, which was unforgettable. But, after the four of them were lifted by a gust of air, their eyes were filled with confusion, reflecting the posture of Gu Yan'er holding Tan Xiao's arm. Gu Yan'er didn't look at the four people anymore. She raised her beautiful face and said with a smile, "Master, let's go eat. Every time I wake up, I'm hungry, but Elder Ji is only willing to let me eat some fruits or drink some medicinal soup. Yan hasn't had a bite of food for almost 10 years. Alright, let's eat." Tan Xiao nodded with a smile. The two figures continued to walk forward. Every time they passed by a blooming flower or a bird, Gu Yan'er would dance like a happy fairy, dancing around Tan Xiao and lingering around the flowers and birds. Her bell-like laughter vividly expressed her joyful mood. Bai Yi, Bai Peng, and the others exchanged dismayed looks. Although they knew that Gu Yan'er addressed Tan Xiao as Grand Master, they were still shocked when they heard Gu Yan'er address Tan Xiao as Master. Notify the others. Yes, notify them quickly. The four of them took out their mobile phones and dialed the other members' numbers. Whoosh, Ji Qimei silently appeared in front of the four people and indifferently said, "You can notify the others, but remember, don't let anyone disturb Master and the Venerable Lord. If Master wants to see everyone, wait for them to finish their meal." Understood. Bai Yi's group of four quickly replied respectfully. Along the way, Gu Yan'er was as though the incarnation of a carefree and happy fairy. She followed Tan Xiao and talked about all kinds of relaxing topics. Her graceful body danced from time to time, causing the Everlasting Feast Hall's core members to be dumbfounded. Among the hundreds of core members of the Everlasting Feast Hall, nearly all of whom were experts personally trained by Gu Yan'er. Yet, they had never seen Gu Yan'er reveal such a cheerful smile like that of a little girl. In front of the main building, dozens of core members of the Everlasting Feast Hall stood on both sides of the road with ecstatic expressions, quietly waiting for Gu Yan'er's arrival. However, when two figures appeared at the end of the path, the ecstatic expression on their faces froze and was gradually replaced by disbelief. Is that boss? How did she become like a child? Among all of them, only Tan Xiao didn't think that there was anything wrong with Gu Yan'er's words and behavior. In his eyes, Gu Yan'er would always be a child. It was he who raised Gu Yan'er and watched her grow up day by day. Greetings, boss. Dozens of core members of the Everlasting Feast Hall bowed and saluted after the two arrived. You're all very good. Gu Yenner smiled and said, although I haven't seen you for years, Xiao Xue told me about your situation. Very good, and I'm very satisfied with your performance over the years. However, I may not be able to appear often in the future. He's my master and also my closest relative. Any order from him is more important than mine, and the first person you need to be loyal to from now on is him. Understood. Dozens of strong men cupped their fists at the same time. At the same time. From various directions in the distance, a group of silhouettes were rushing over. There were men and women among them, and all of them exuded a valiant aura. Greetings, boss. Standing next to Gu Yenner, Tan Xiu watched her praising everyone with a gratified expression. He suddenly realized that the little girl he raised had now really grown up. Let's go inside, Yenner, said Tan Xiu softly. Gu Yenner faintly smiled and intimately held Tan Xiu's arm as they turned around and entered the main building of the restaurant. Under her lead, the duo then came to the VIP lounge. Wow, what a sumptuous meal. As they entered the room, Gu Yenner's eyes turned into crescent moons as she looked at the long table full of delicious dishes. She then pulled Tan Xiu to the table. Time fleeted by. During the dinner, Tan Xiu and Gu Yenner ate very slowly, but the atmosphere was particularly warm. At this moment, hundreds of people had gathered outside the Everlasting Feast Hall's main building, and all of them were respectfully waiting. All of them were respectfully waiting, including Gu Xiaoxue who just came out of the main building. Today, many guests who came to the Everlasting Feast Hall for dinner found this strange phenomenon. Many of them even inquired about the reason why so many people appeared here. Each and every one of them exuded a special temperament. Huh? What's going on here? Ouyang Lulu, who was fiddling with the car key in her hand, came to the front of the main building of the Everlasting Feast Hall. She had been to the Everlasting Feast Hall many times, so she knew that most of the people here were members of the Everlasting Feast Hall. Yet, she couldn't figure out why everyone gathered together. Most of them were lined up in neat lines like soldiers waiting quietly. Lulu. Gu Xiaoxue strode forward with a satisfied smile on her face as she came before Ouyang Lulu. What's going on here? Ouyang Lulu was surprised. Is it Tan Xiu who came? But even if he came, there's no need to make such a big scene. Look at those guests, they're all pointing and watching. The boss is here. He and my master are having dinner inside. Gu Xiaoxue chuckled. Your master? Ouyang Lulu's eyes widened. She knew that Ouyang Lulu had a mysterious master, but she had never seen her before. Later on, due to the relationship between Tan Xiu and the Everlasting Feast Hall, she went back to ask her mother and learn some things about Gu Yan from her. Big sis Xue, your master is back. Yes, she is. Gu Xiaoxue chuckled and nodded. Then I'll go visit her. Ouyang Lulu quickly said. By the way, I'll ask Tan Xiu if he still needs my private jet. Gu Xiaoxue blocked Ouyang Lulu's path and shook her head. Lulu, we'll talk about other things later. Let my master accompany Grand Master to finish the meal. Why? Ouyang Lulu was puzzled. Gu Xiaoxue gave her an apologetic look and shook her head. Xiaoxue, I can't tell you why for the time being, but I hope you can listen to me. Master and Grand Master are finally reunited, and they need some private space. Ouyang Lulu looked at Gu Xiaoxue with a strange expression. She then nodded and said, forget it. Since it's like this, I'll wait here with you. To be honest, I'm really curious about your master. Thank you. Gu Xiaoxue chuckled. Chapter 393. The night sky was dotted with stars as soft starlight sprinkled over the earth. The Everlasting Feast Hall's main building in Jingmen Island was still bustling with noise and excitement. However, some local big forces and families in Jingmen Island also learned about what happened there through various channels. What's going on? When Tang Dong came to the Everlasting Feast Hall's main building with his two subordinates, he suddenly frowned with a dread expression on his face. The two subordinates behind him looked at the hundreds of core members of the Everlasting Feast Hall as though they were facing a formidable enemy. "Boss, could it be Gao Yanfeng's trick?" a big man whispered. "I don't think so." Tang Dong shook his head and said, "I know some of these people. They are the Everlasting Feast Hall's people. Even if Gao Yanfeng wants to make things difficult for us, it's impossible for him to choose the Everlasting Feast Hall. So tonight should not be a hangmen banquet, but the time to show our cards." Immediately after, Tang Dong bypassed those people and quickly entered the building, coming to the reserved room. He didn't see Ouyang Lulu, who was standing with Gu Xiaoxue in the diagonally opposite corner. But when Ouyang Lulu saw Tang Dong, a bit of astonishment was revealed in her eyes. "Xiaoxue, I think I saw Tan Xiu's uncle." Gu Xiaoxue said in surprise, "Grand Master's uncle? You mean? It's Tang Dong in our Jingmen Island." Ouyang Lulu whispered. "We saw him at the Tang family's residence in the imperial capital when Tan Xiu had an accident." Gu Xiaoxue suddenly understood. She frowned and thought for a moment before saying, "I remember him. He's a member of the Tang family and also the manor master of our seaside strait manor in Jingmen Island. I was preoccupied with other things before and forgot about this matter. It seems that the Everlasting Feast Hall must get closer to the seaside strait manor in the future." Ouyang Lulu rolled her eyes and snorted, "Sister Shui, I think you're being biased. We have a very good relationship, and I have a good relationship with Tan Xiu. Why do you want to be close to the seaside strait manor? You don't want to be close to our Ouyang family? My grandpa has been wanting to see your master for a long time, but unfortunately, you refused." Gu Xiaoxue said, "You don't understand." "Who said I don't understand?" Ouyang Lulu snorted and said, "I really don't know why you call Tan Xiu your Grand Master. With his age, how could he be worthy to be called a Grand Master?" Gu Xiaoxue's face turned gloomy and she snapped in a low voice, "Shut up, Lulu. If you keep spouting nonsense, I'll cut all ties with you." Fine, fine, fine. I won't say any more." Ouyang Lulu resentfully turned her head away, but she secretly cursed in her heart. In the main building. Inside a private room, when Tang Dong stepped into the door, there were already two middle-aged men sitting inside. One of them was a fat man with a shaved head, wearing a jade pendant around his neck and 6 or 7 large gold rings on his fingers. As for the slightly thinner middle-aged man, he wore glasses and looked gentle. However, there was a cold glint in his triangular eyes. "Oh, I thought the dignified seaside strait manor's Master Tang wouldn't dare to come tonight." The slightly thinner middle-aged man, Gao Yanfeng, sneered. Tang Dong snorted coldly. He walked to the opposite side of the round table and sat down, saying indifferently, "Gao Yanfeng, let alone in Jingmen Island, there's no place in the whole country that I, Tang Dong, dare not go. But you, weren't you very timid before? How come you've become so arrogant now? Did you find a master to back you up?" Gao Yanfeng suddenly got up and angrily shouted, "Tang Dong, who are you calling a dog? Don't forget that it's your seaside strait manor that has something to ask of me, not me. If you make me unhappy, I'll directly cut off your navigation line to the Evil Dragon Sea area." Tang Dong coldly shouted, "If you have the ability, why don't you try it?" The fat middle-aged man, who was sitting between the two of them, knocked the table with his fingers and shouted, "Hey, what's going on with you two? Why are you quarreling again? You asked me to be the middleman this time, so I'll do my best. If you have this kind of attitude, I don't need to be a middleman anymore. I'll just leave." Gao Yanfeng glared at Tang Dong. He then crossed his legs and lit a cigarette. Tang Dong slightly furrowed his brows and also fell into silence. The fat middle-aged man's surname was Ji Xiaolong, and others called him Fatty Ji. He was a quite powerful figure in Jingmen Island. The power he possessed was not inferior to Gao Yanfeng's wine garden and Tang Dong's seaside strait manor. Therefore, all the forces in Jingmen Island would give him some face. Fatty G also lit a cigarette and looked at the two men in silence. Then, he nodded with a satisfied smile and said, "Tang Dong, I'll be the middleman this time. I invited the two of you here in the hope that you can reach an agreement. How will your Seaside Straight Manners fleet go to the Evil Dragon Sea area later?" "I want to hear what Boss Gao has to say," said Tang Dong in a deep voice. "It's very easy." Gao Yanfeng sneered. "The island I bought happens to be on the side of the navigation line to the Evil Dragon Sea area. If you want to pass my island, you must give me some benefits. Else, you can open another route and go from another place. I'm afraid you won't be able to use our Seaside Straight Manners benefits." Tang Dong sneered. "Tang Dong, don't scare me with your Seaside Straight Manner." Gao Yanfeng sneered. "My wine garden is stronger than your Seaside Straight Manner. If you really want to wrestle with me, I can accompany you. Also, your Tang family is having a hard time now, isn't it? I know you're from the Tang family in the imperial capital, but your Tang family has lost a lot of power in Guangyang. Your Tang family might have scared me before, but since I know that your Tang family has a big enemy like the Yao family, do you think I'll be afraid of you? If worst comes to worst, this father will just rely on the Yao family." What Tang Dong feared the most was Gao Yanfeng's move. He believed that the Seaside Straight Manor was stronger than Gao Yanfeng's wine garden. But if both sides were to fight, even if he could get rid of Gao Yanfeng, the Seaside Straight Manor would suffer heavy losses. On the other hand, if he were to use other forces of the Tang family, it was very likely that Gao Yanfeng would be forced to take desperate measures. At that time, if he really relied on the Yao family, the Yao family would definitely accept such a powerful dog. Furthermore, if Gao Yanfeng led the Yao family to Jingmen Island, it would be more difficult for his Seaside Straight Manor to survive. Looking at the two of them, Fatty G chuckled and said, "Ah, Tang Dong. When Gao Yanfeng bought the island, he originally wanted to carry out large-scale aquaculture around the island. But your Seaside Straight Manor's route passes through there. Won't this make him suffer some losses? Therefore, both of you take a step back. Gao Yanfeng will give up your nautical route, and you will give him some compensation. Then this matter will be over." "What compensation?" asked Tang Dong. "Before you came here, Gao Yanfeng already told me the bottom line. The breeding farm he wants to build is very big, with a total investment of billions of yuan. If your Seaside Straight Manor can compensate him 200 million yuan every year and leave him a fierce beast carcass every time you come back from a hunt, he'll leave the nautical line for you. What do you think of this condition?" Tang Dong flew into a rage and shouted, "Dream on. Our Seaside Straight Manor brothers take huge risks to hunt fierce beasts in the Evil Dragon Sea area every time. It's very difficult for us. Sometimes, we have to spend days there and barely hunt one back. If we give it to Gao Yanfeng, won't we have nothing to eat? Also, the compensation of 200 million yuan a year, he must be crazy thinking about money." Gao Yanfeng slapped the table, stood up and shouted, "You don't agree, do you? If you don't agree, then your Seaside Straight Manor will find another nautical route. This father will go back to the island and start to arrange the aquaculture farm. Both of you, sit down." Fatty G squinted his eyes as he opened his arms and shouted. In the VIP lounge of the main building, Tan Xiu accompanied Gu Yan, as they tasted the delicious dishes. Even Gu Yan, was like a little greedy cat, shouting to drink 2 mouthfuls of wine. Tan Xiu's interspatial ring contained 2 boxes from the villa in Southgate Town. Therefore, he took out a bottle and poured half a cup for Gu Yan. "I can only drink this much." With sparkling eyes, Gu Yan said with a smile, "You're too stingy, master. I drank 2 jars of drunken immortal wine in one breath when I was in the immortal world. You know that wine, right? It's very strong. I drank 2 jars, but I'm not drunk yet. It's different now." Tan Xiu shook his head and said, "You're injured now, so you can't drink too much. Letting you drink half a cup is already a special favor. Be a good girl and drink half a cup. Then, we'll eat something and I'll take you outside to see the night scenery. Gu Yan felt a sweetness in her heart and obediently drank the half cup of God's nectar. Then, she said in surprise, Master, this wine tastes a bit familiar, no? But it's not right. It's like it's missing something. Tan Xiu said with a smile, this wine's recipe is from me, so you'll naturally be familiar with it. It's just that I've changed some of the wine's ingredients, so it's lacking a lot. Gu Yan suddenly understood. She looked at the packaging box and the wine bottle and curiously asked, Master, don't tell me you opened a winery? Smart. Tan Xiu said with a smile. I did open a winery, and it's very profitable now. That's right, Gu Yan said with a charming smile, how can there be no reason for my master's winery not to make money? If no one buys it, that means they're stupid. Come, let's eat. Tan Xiu picked up some food for Gu Yan with the chopsticks and put it into her bowl. Quickly. After the duo had eaten and drank to their heart's content, Gu Yan held his arm as they came outside the main building. Looking at the scene outside, Gu Yan said with a smile, why haven't you all dispersed yet? A lot of people came back. Greetings, boss. The members who came back from outside respectfully saluted. Gu Yan waved her hand and said, there's no need for that. All of you must listen to my master's words in the future. He's the supreme ruler of the everlasting feast hall, and his will is your will. Understood. Everyone answered again. All right, disperse. Gu Yan said. Don't affect the normal operation of the restaurant. Even though it hasn't fully recovered, Quiet Night is slowly paying off the debt. Brothers and sisters, why aren't you hurrying to buy all kinds of tickets? _. Chapter 394. As the members in front of the main building dispersed, Tan Xiu's eyes fell on Ouyang Lulu. Gu Xiaoxue didn't leave, and Ouyang Lulu just stood beside her. However, at this time, Ouyang Lulu didn't look at Tan Xiu. Her eyes were staring at Gu Yan, with her mouth slightly opened and eyes full of disbelief. Beautiful. She was really, really beautiful. Ouyang Lulu had full confidence in her figure, temperament, and appearance. Even if she was compared with Gu Xiaoxue, she was confident that she wouldn't lose. However, the woman in front of her was too beautiful. She was like a fairy from the ninth heaven who had descended to the mortal world. Her beauty was soul-stirring and captivating. Lulu. Gu Xiaoxue gently touched Ouyang Lulu with her arm. Only then did Ouyang Lulu wake up from her dream and her heartbeat accelerated. Big sis Shui, is she your master? Ouyang Lulu asked in disbelief. She felt that the breathtakingly beautiful woman in front of her was too young. It was really hard for her to believe that this woman named Gu Yan was the one who established the everlasting feast hall decades ago. Yeah. Gu Xiaoxue gently nodded. Ouyang Lulu murmured, how is this possible? How can the everlasting feast hall's boss from decades ago be so young now? It's as if time can't leave any trace on her body. This doesn't make sense. Is there really an elixir of immortality in this world? Can it preserve one's youth forever? A smile appeared on Gu Xiaoxue's beautiful face as she cupped her fists and said, Master, she's my friend and also Grand Master's friend, Ouyang Lulu. She came here to find Grand Master for something. Friend? Gu Yan smiled and praised, this child is very beautiful. I also remember her name. She should be a member of the Ouyang family, right? I happened to be busy in Jingmen Island when she was born and got the good news of her birth. I also sent someone to send her a congratulatory gift during her 1-month celebration. Ouyang Lulu shuddered inwardly. A bit of respect appeared on her face as she said, are you really Big Sis Shue's master? But how did you become Tan Xiu's disciple? How old are you? Gu Yenner's eyes were filled with tenderness. She turned her head to look at Tan Xiu and said with a smile, "Of course I'm his disciple, because he raised me." "What?" Ouyang Lulu's eyes instantly turned round as a horrified expression burst out from her eyes. She looked at Tan Xiu, and then looked at Gu Yenner. After the initial shock, she suddenly felt that this matter was so ridiculous. Tan Xiu raised Gu Yenner. What kind of joke was this? How old is Tan Xiu now? He should be in his early 20s, right? What about Gu Yenner? Decades ago, she looked like she was in her 20s. Even though she still looked like she was in her 20s, her real age should be in her 40s or 50s, right? A young man in his 20s raised a man in his 40s or 50s. Isn't this just too much nonsense? Tan Xiu looked at Ouyang Lulu's constantly changing expression and secretly sighed inwardly. He turned to look at Gu Yenner and shook his head at her. Tan Xiu's eyes then fell back on Ouyang Lulu and said, "Lulu, don't listen to Yenner's nonsense. She's just teasing you. Tell me, what's the matter?" "Nonsense?" Ouyang Lulu firmly believed Tan Xiu's explanation. After suppressing her complicated feelings, she said, "Actually, it's nothing important. I just learned that you took my plane to Jingmen Island, so I came to find you and ask how long you'll be using that plane." Tan Xiu said with a smile, "I don't need that plane anymore. I was in a hurry to rush to the everlasting feast hall and forgot to inform the captain. We still have some things to do now, so it's not convenient for me to chat with you. But I'll treat you to a meal when I'm free." Gu Yenner pulled Tan Xiu's arm and nodded to Ouyang Lulu with a smile. Then, the two of them walked toward the winding path leading to the seaside. Ouyang Lulu looked at their backs and watched their intimate actions. She opened her mouth and followed them, but her expression turned a bit ugly after she took a step forward. She suddenly felt that Tan Xiu and Gu Yenner didn't have a master and disciple relationship, but more like a couple. Such a discovery made her feel particularly uncomfortable. "Lulu." Gu Xiaoxue came to Ouyang Lulu's side and stood side by side with her. Looking at their backs, she sighed softly and said, "I know what you're thinking. Although I don't know much about love, I can see that you like Grand Master. However, I don't think you have much hope." Ouyang Lulu abruptly turned her head with anger in her eyes and asked in a deep voice, "Why not? I, Ouyang Lulu, will give everything for someone I love. I also believe that no man in this world can escape from my palm. Lulu, you and Grand Master are people from two completely different worlds. You two are really not suitable for each other." Gu Xiaoxue sighed. "Gu Xiaoxue, I know that Tan Xiu is your Grand Master, and I also know that your master has an unusual relationship with him. But don't blame me for not recognizing you as my sister if you say such words again." Ouyang Lulu angrily said. Gu Xiaoxue was startled and a wry smile appeared on her beautiful face. She had never experienced the love between a man and a woman, but she had seen a pig run even if she had never eaten pork. The living examples in reality made her very clear that women who fell in love would lose their rationality. "Let's go. I'll accompany you to eat something," Gu Xiaoxue said. Ouyang Lulu was in a bad mood and had no appetite at all. After rejecting Gu Xiaoxue's proposal, she left the everlasting feast hall as fast as possible. If it was in the past, she wouldn't have felt any sense of crisis, but it was different now. Today, Gu Yenner's appearance had deeply touched her heart. Thinking about the women Tan Xiu knew, there should be a few of them, and their conditions were not worse than his. The one she was most wary of was Kang Xia, the general manager of the magnificent Tang Corporation. As the saying goes, the pavilion closest to the water enjoys the moonlight first. Kang Xia was in charge of Tan Xiu's company. Their relationship must be very close. What if they fell in love over time? The more Ouyang Lulu thought about it, the more she thought about it. If it wasn't for the dazzling light of a truck in front of her, causing her to avoid crashing into the curb, she would have been in an accident at this moment. "No, we can't go on like this. As the saying goes, the one who strikes first gains the advantage, and the one who strikes last suffers. No matter what method I have to use, no matter what price I have to pay, I will make Tan Xiu my man. With my charm, I believe he will fall in love with me. Ouyang Lulu slapped the steering wheel. Her face was full of confidence again. After restarting the car, she quickly drove toward the end of the road. On the winding path from the everlasting feast hall to the seaside, Tan Xiu wore a concerned expression as he softly asked, "Yenner, are you feeling uncomfortable now?" "Not at all." Gu Yenner revealed a smile, but her inadvertent expression and movements betrayed her. Quickly, the two of them arrived at the seaside. At this time, Gu Xiaoxue had also rushed over and respectfully reported, "Grand Master, some people had a conflict in our everlasting feast hall. Although the table was flipped, they are still confronting each other and have yet to fight. One of them is from the Tang family." "The Tang family? Who is it?" Tan Xiu raised his brows and asked in surprise. "It's Tang Dong," Gu Xiaoxue said. Tan Xiu stared blankly with a confused expression on his face. Tang Dong managed the seaside straight manor, which was similar to the everlasting feast hall. How did he come to the everlasting feast hall instead of having a meal in the seaside straight manor? Tan Xiu pondered for a moment and asked, "Who's the one confronting him?" "The owner of Jingmen Island's wine garden, Gao Yanfeng. However, aside from them, Ji Xiaolong is also present. He runs a mining business in Jingmen Island." "I see." Tan Xiu nodded and said, "Take some people to stop them. I'll deal with it later." "Understood." Gu Xiaoxue nodded. "I'll go with you, master," Gu Yenner quickly said. Tan Xiu raised his hand to stroke her beautiful hair and shook his head, "Be good, Yenner. Your body doesn't allow you to stay outside for a long time. We've already spent a long time having a meal. If you want master to spend more time with you, just stay in the exquisite pagoda and wait for me. I'll come back after I've dealt with it." Gu Yenner thought for a moment and felt that Tan Xiu's words made sense. A trace of reluctance immediately appeared on her face as she said, "Master, you must come back quickly." "Don't worry," Tan Xiu said with a smile. "Let's go. I'll send you to the exquisite pagoda first." On the first floor of the exquisite pagoda, Ji Qimei, Light, and Dark were already waiting. Upon seeing Tan Xiu and Gu Yenner coming back, Ji Qimei respectfully asked, "Will you be staying here for a few days, Lord?" "That's right. I must accompany Yenner well when she's awake." Tan Xiu nodded. "Also, go and do your things. I'll look for you again if there's anything." "Understood." The trio replied and quickly left the exquisite pagoda. As they came to the 7th floor, Tan Xiu watched as Gu Yenner floated up and sat cross-legged on the ice bed. He let out a faint smile and said, "Yenner, you stay here for a while. I'll be back soon." "All right." Gu Yenner smiled sweetly. Inside the everlasting feast hall's box, the tables and chairs were in a mess. Both sides had red eyes, whereas Fatty Ji frowned deeply and looked at Tang Dong with an unfriendly expression. At this time, Tang Dong wished he could kill Gao Yanfeng with his own hands. This bastard was asking for a sky-high price and had no sincerity in negotiating. Fatty Ji was also not a good person. Although he came here as a peacemaker, he obviously favored Gao Yanfeng. It was just that nobody knew what benefits he had received from Gao Yanfeng. A sneer hung on Gao Yanfeng's face as he said, "Tang Dong, it's useless even if you flip the table. Who told you to act too late? You didn't buy the island? I've bought 50 years of property rights. If your seaside straight manor wants that nautical route, then follow my price. Otherwise, you only have two options. The first is to wait for 50 years and buy the property rights of the island. However, the possibility is very small since I have the priority to buy it. The second option is to find another nautical route." Chapter 395. Tang Dong clenched his fists and asked, "Is there really no leeway?" "No. Gao Yanfeng said with a bit of pride. Tang Dong took a deep breath, turned around and was about to leave the room. At this moment, however, Gu Xiaoshua's figure appeared at the door. She glanced at the situation inside the box and lightly said, "My everlasting feast hall is a place for our guests to dine, not a place for you to behave atrociously. I've already asked someone to vacate a large private room next door. I'll have to trouble you to go there." Tang Dong frowned and asked, "Boss Gu, what are you going to do next door?" Gu Xiaoshua didn't have any malice toward Tang Dong. On the contrary, she showed a trace of respect due to her relationship with Tan Xiu and said, "Mr. Tang, I'm not the owner of the Everlasting Feast Hall now. The owner of the Everlasting Feast Hall has changed. Actually, it was our boss who ordered me to ask you to go next door and wait for a moment. He'll be here soon." Tang Dong raised his brows. He felt that Gu Xiaoshua didn't have any malicious intent, so he nodded and said, "Lead the way." Gu Xiaoshua glanced at Gao Yanfeng and Ji Xiaolong before she turned around and walked outside. Gao Yanfeng looked a bit confused as he looked at Ji Xiaolong and asked, "What do you think the Everlasting Feast Hall means?" "This is a matter between us and the Seaside Straight Manor. Why would the Everlasting Feast Hall jump out and meddle in it?" "Fatty Ji, the strength of the Everlasting Feast Hall is not to be underestimated. I'm afraid that even if the two of us join forces, we won't necessarily be a match for the Everlasting Feast Hall." Fatty Ji frowned, his chubby face filled with coldness. He pulled Gao Yanfeng and said in a low voice as they walked outside, "Don't talk nonsense. How can the Everlasting Feast Hall's terrifying might be something that our two families can compare with? Let me tell you, just a few dozen people from the Everlasting Feast Hall are enough to destroy both our families." "Really?" Gao Yanfeng asked in horror. "How did you know?" "You don't need to know how I know about it," said Fatty Ji in a low voice. "In short, you must remember that you can provoke any forces in Jingmen Island except for the Everlasting Feast Hall. If there was a chance, he must establish a friendship with the Everlasting Feast Hall. Even if I have to pay a price." Gao Yanfeng understood Fatty Ji's character and knew that he would never be an alarmist. However, although the Everlasting Feast Hall had concealed some power, was it really as terrifying as Ji Xiaolong said? Very soon, the few of them followed Gu Xiaoshua to the private room next door. This private room was twice the size of the previous one and could accommodate dozens of people. At this moment, the table in the box had been removed and the Everlasting Feast Hall's staff had gotten a few sofas from God knows where and placed them against the wall inside. "Please take a seat." Gu Xiaoshua walked straight to the innermost sofa and sat down. Although Tang Dong didn't know why the Everlasting Feast Hall intervened in this matter, he couldn't sense any hostility from Gu Xiaoshua. Hence, he calmly sat on the sofa in front of Gu Xiaoshua's right side. Gao Yanfeng and Fatty Ji sat on the sofa on the left. Fatty Ji's gaze fell on Gu Xiaoshua. Even though Gu Xiaoshua was breathtakingly beautiful, he still didn't dare show the slightest sign of profanity. He cupped his fist and said, "Elder Gu, I am Gu Xiaoshua," said Gu Xiaoshua lightly. Fatty Ji quickly changed his address and said, "Miss Gu, may I ask who is the current boss of your Everlasting Feast Hall?" "You'll naturally know when my boss comes," said Gu Xiaoshua lightly. Fatty Ji could only force a wry smile inwardly. Wasn't this just nonsense? However, in order to clear up the confusion in his heart, he asked again, "Miss Gu, we did have a small conflict in your Everlasting Feast Hall, but it's just a trivial matter and we didn't fight with each other. As for the damaged items, we'll naturally compensate you with double the compensation. But we don't understand why your boss wants to see us." Gu Xiaoshua still had that indifferent look on her face. She even said the same words as before, "When our boss arrives, you will naturally know." Fatty Ji was speechless. For a moment, the atmosphere in the entire private room turned a bit depressing. "Boss." The voice of the Everlasting Feast Hall's security personnel came from outside the private room. Tan Xiu nodded. The moment he entered the private room, he could clearly see the situation inside. When his eyes met with Tang Dong's, he could clearly see the disbelief in Tang Dong's eyes. Boss. Gu Xiaoxue stood up and called out to Tan Xiu with light footsteps. Tan Xiu nodded and walked a few steps toward Tang Dong, who had already stood up. He then said with a faint smile, "Uncle Dong, I heard you came to the Everlasting Feast Hall and had a conflict with someone. How is it? Has the conflict been resolved?" Tang Dong finally sobered up from the shock. He looked at Tan Xiu up and down a few times and then said in amazement, "Tan Xiu, you're the new boss of the Everlasting Feast Hall." "I'm not the new boss, am I?" Tan Xiu lightly smiled. "It's been a few months." Tang Dong was silent for a few seconds before his expression began to change. Ecstasy rose on his face as he laughed heartily. Good. I never thought that the Everlasting Feast Hall's people were on our side. I originally thought that I would suffer a loss this time, but I didn't expect it. What a twist. At this moment, Gao Yanfeng and Fatty Ji's faces turned a bit unsightly. Never in their wildest dreams did they expect that the new boss of the Everlasting Feast Hall turned out to be someone from the Tang family. We're in big trouble. The two of them looked at each other with bitter expressions on their faces. Tan Xiu nodded and walked to the place where Gu Xiaoxue had just sat. He waved his hand to signal the others to sit down as well. Then, he looked at Gao Yanfeng and Fatty Ji and lightly said, "Let me introduce myself. I'm Tan Xiu, the boss of the Everlasting Feast Hall and also a member of the Tang family. How should I address the two of you? My surname is Ji Xiaolong." "You can call me Fatty Ji," said Fatty Ji quickly. "Gao Yanfeng," said Gao Yanfeng stiffly. "Now tell me," said Tan Xiu. "What's going on?" Tang Dong immediately said aloud, "Tan Xiu, you know that our seaside strait manor has been hunting fierce beasts in the offshore trench. But 2 months ago, there was a mini earthquake there, causing the fierce beasts there to disappear without a trace. Out of desperation, our seaside strait manor had to rush to the Evil Dragon Sea area to hunt some low-level fierce beasts there. But when Gao Yanfeng found out about this, he actually used despicable means to buy an island in the middle of the navigation line and threatened to build an aquaculture farm in the middle of the navigation line. He wants to cut off our seaside strait manor's navigation route. Furthermore, he also gave us some conditions. It's not impossible for him to give us the navigation route, but he asked for a sky-high price. It's simply extortion. There's also this Fatty Ji. He seems to be a peacemaker on the surface, but he has always been partial to Gao Yanfeng." Looking at the angry Tang Dong, Tan Xiu let out a smile and said, "So it turns out to be such a trivial matter. It's all right. Leave it to me." "How are you going to solve it?" asked Tang Dong hesitantly. Tan Xiu gave him a reassuring look. He then looked at Gao Yanfeng and said, "Gao Yanfeng, right? Since you know that I'm a member of the Tang family, I'm naturally your enemy. So I'll give you a chance. That is, I'll give you 2 options at the same time. You can choose from them. The first option is to transfer the island to the Seaside Strait Manor for 1 yuan. Impossible. Gao Yanfeng immediately jumped up and shouted. Then, you can only choose the second option, Tan Xiu said with a faint smile. Gao Yanfeng suppressed the anger in his heart and asked in a deep voice, "What's the second option?" Tan Xiu's figure instantly appeared in front of Gao Yanfeng. A blade light flashed as Tan Xiu sat back on the sofa. Then, he said with a smile, "The second option is your current fate. You'll be killed on the spot, and everyone in your wine garden will be wiped out and all your property will be taken by me." Gao Yanfeng raised his right hand and pointed his finger at Tan Xiu, while his left hand tightly covered his neck. Just as the word, "you," came out of his mouth, a large amount of blood gushed out. Tan Xiu said with a smile, "There's a road to heaven, but you don't want to take it. You just want to break through the gates of hell. Since that's the case, I can only send you off myself." "That's right, if you go to hell and the king of hell asks you how you died, remember to tell him, my name is Tan Xiu. He should know who I am since I've sent a lot of people to him. When Tan Xiu finished speaking, Gao Yanfeng's hands were already covering his neck. His body slid down the sofa and fell to the ground, twitching. Tan Xiu looked at Gu Xiaoxue. Gu Xiaoxue was smart and immediately understood Tan Xiu's meaning. She respectfully said, I'll arrange it now, Grand Master. I'll definitely wash Gao Yanfeng's forces with blood in the shortest time possible and take over his property. You must take over his property, but don't kill as much as possible, said Tan Xiu. If they're not Gao Yanfeng's true confidants, then let them go. Furthermore, the Everlasting Feast Hall's action against the Wine Garden is somewhat unjustifiable. The Everlasting Feast Hall's people and the Seaside Straight Manor's people should act together and split the benefits equally. Uncle Dong, do you have any objection to this? Tang Dong was shocked by Tan Xiu's means. Although he knew that Tan Xiu carried out a massacre in Guangyang and utterly defeated the Yao and Sun families, he had yet to witness the scene. But now, he didn't even blink and killed Gao Yanfeng, whom he hated so much. This cold and callous side of him made him secretly fearful. No objection. How could Tang Dong have any objection at this time? He was too happy. Tan Xiu then looked at Fatty Ji and said with a smile, I heard that you're biased. Is there such a thing? Fatty Ji quickly stood up and bowed to Tang Dong, saying, Tang Dong, I was in the wrong before. After all, Gao Yanfeng gave me some benefits and asked me to speak a few good words for him. I'm now formally apologizing to you, and I'll increase the benefits I got from Gao Yanfeng tenfold as an apology. What do you think? You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.